The Ji family banquet was set in the old mansion's main dining hall. The crystal chandelier blazed with a harsh light, and over 20 people crowded around the long table, every seat taken. When Shen Yanqing arrived, more than half the dishes had already been served. He pushed the door open and walked in. No one stood up. No one greeted him. A few distant relatives merely glanced up at him, their eyes pausing for a second on his shirt, which had been washed so many times the collar was beginning to fray, then looked away. Ji Yunshu sat beside the host's seat, wearing a champagne-colored gown, her hair pinned up without a single strand out of place. The diamond earrings by her temples gleamed coldly under the chandelier. Her right hand was hooked through Cheng Yihan's arm, and the two of them sat so close together that even when Shen Yanqing pushed the door open, her fingers did not let go. Cheng Yihan was dressed in a dark blue suit today, silver cufflinks fastened at his wrists, his hair styled stiff with gel. He tilted his head slightly and looked at Shen Yanqing with an expression that bordered on pity. The corner of his mouth curled into a faint, knowing smile. Shen Yanqing sat down in the empty seat. It was at the very end of the table, more than half the length of the room away from Ji Yunshu. His mother-in-law, Zhao Lanzi, was the first to speak. Her voice was shrill, like a fingernail scraping across glass.
Yanqing, the reason we asked you here tonight is because there's something we need to discuss with you.
Shen Yanqing picked up the teacup in front of him and said nothing. Zhao Lanzi shot a look at Ji Yunshu. Ji Yunshu released Cheng Yihan's arm, pulled a document out of the leather portfolio beside her, and pushed it across the table. The document slid past the hands of 7 or 8 people before coming to a stop directly in front of Shen Yanqing.
Sign it, Ji Yunshu said.
Her voice was not loud, but her tone carried the weight of an order that would accept no argument. Shen Yanqing looked down.
Divorce agreement.
The 4 large characters were printed squarely on the cover. He flipped open the pages and read them one by one. Leave with nothing. Forfeit all project dividends from the G Group. Acknowledge that there were no joint property disputes during the marriage. When he turned to the last page, a separate project authorization transfer letter was clipped to the back. It read, I voluntarily relinquish all advisory rights to the G Group New Energy Project and will cooperate with Cheng Yihan to complete the handover of the 9 billion yuan cooperation deal. Shen Yanqing finished reading, closed the document, and looked up at Ji Yunshu. The divorce isn't the main event tonight, he said. His voice was calm, but every person in the dining hall heard it clearly.
It's this, isn't it?
The 9 billion yuan project. Ji Yunshu's brow furrowed slightly. What difference does it make? She said. Sign it, and it's better for both of us. Don't make this uglier than it needs to be. Cheng Yihan sighed softly beside her, his tone adopting the weary patience of a man trying to be reasonable. Brother Shen, I know this is hard for you to accept, but this matter was going to be settled sooner or later. Yunshu has been under enormous pressure these past few years. If you can't help her, you can't just keep holding her back, can you? As soon as the words left his mouth, Ji Yunshu's second uncle, Ji Zhonghong, set down his chopsticks and added in a slow, drawling voice, a man without ability shouldn't occupy a seat he can't fill. Yunshu needs someone who can actually help her, not someone who just waits at home for a meal. The third aunt, Ji Meiqin, chimed in right on cue.
Young Cheng is a fine young man.
Young, capable, accompanies Yunshu on business trips, handles negotiations, attends social dinners.
Hess presentable in every way.
Cheng Yihan immediately bowed his head, putting on a show of humility.
Elders, please don't say that.
I'm merely doing my duty. As he said the word duty, his fingers brushed, seemingly by accident, across the back of Ji Yunshu's hand. Ji Yunshu did not pull away. Shen Yanqing watched all of this without a word. In his pocket, the voice recorder on his phone had already been running for 25 minutes. The automatic cloud backup had been syncing every second since the moment he stepped through the doors of the old mansion. He had not just learned of these things today. 3 months ago, the first time Cheng Yihan presented Shen Yanqing's project proposal as his own work during an internal meeting, Shen Yanqing had obtained the meeting minutes that very same day. A month ago, when Cheng Yihan accompanied Ji Yunshu on a business trip to Jiangcheng and only booked one executive suite at the hotel, the front desk registration records and the itemized bill had landed in Shen Yanqing's hands by the following afternoon.
7 days ago, Cheng Yihan posted a photo on his social media.
Ji Yunshu was asleep in the back seat of a car, and he had draped his jacket over her, captioning it, "Even the strongest people need someone who truly understands them." That post had been blocked from Shen Yanqing's view, But there was someone in the G Group's marketing department who owed Shen Yanqing a very large favor. He had saved everything. No arguments, no confrontations. He had simply waited for them to finally stretch their hands toward that 9-billion-yuan project. And now they had finally reached for it.
Ji Yunshu placed a fountain pen beside the agreement.
The cap was already unscrewed. Yanqing, we were husband and wife once. I won't make things difficult for you. Her tone softened slightly, as if she were handling a routine business matter. The apartment in the city center goes to you, plus 3 million in compensation. From now on, you live your life, and don't show up in front of me or Yihan again. Shen Yanqing looked at her. You and Yihan? Ji Yunshu's lips pressed into a thin line. Don't split hairs.
Cheng Yihan quickly let out a sigh, his voice carrying that familiar wounded tone.
Brother Shen, you've misunderstood.
Miss Ji and I are completely innocent.
It's just that in a professional capacity, I understand her better than you do, and can be of more help to her. Shen Yanqing did not say another word. He picked up the agreement and slowly turned to the last page. The entire dining hall fell silent. Everyone expected him to throw a fit, to slam the table, to demand answers, to beg Ji Yunshu to change her mind. Ji Yunshu expected it too. A flicker of impatience even crossed her eyes, as if she were bracing for a long-predicted meltdown. But Shen Yanqing simply picked up the pen and wrote 3 characters on the signature line. Shen Yanqing. The sound of the pen nib dragging across the paper was very soft, yet the entire dining hall felt as if someone had pressed the mute button. Ji Yunshu froze. The smile on Cheng Yihan's face stiffened, as if he had not expected things to go so smoothly. Shen Yanqing set the pen down, pushed the agreement back, and said in a tone as flat as if he were signing for a package delivery, divorce.
Fine.
Ji Yunshu's eyes wavered. She stared at Shen Yanqing's face, searching for any trace of anger, grief, or unwillingness. There was nothing. His face held only a calm that she found utterly alien.
Zhao Lanzi was the first to let out a sigh of relief.
She lifted her teacup and took a sip, muttering, if it was going to be this easy, why drag it out and make everyone miserable? Shen Yanqing ignored her. He stood up, picked up the glass of red wine he had not touched all evening, and walked over to his father-in-law, Ji Yunshu. Ji Yunshu sat at the head of the long table. He had not spoken a single word the entire night, his face darker than the bottom of a pot. He kept silent because he knew better than anyone what that 9 billion yuan meant to the G Group. But like everyone else, he had assumed the deal was already sealed, that Shen Yanqing was merely a middleman who could easily be replaced by the next person in line. Shen Yanqing looked at Ji Yunshu and smiled. Dad.
The last time he'll call you that.
Ji Yunshu frowned.
Shen Yanqing, what are you trying to do?
Shen Yanqing set the wine glass down in front of him. His voice was not loud, but every word landed on the table with unmistakable weight.
Your daughter is nothing but a worn-out shoe.
And that 9 billion yuan project? In pulling it, the air in the dining hall felt like it had been vacuumed out. Ji Yunshu shot to her feet, the legs of her chair screeching against the floor. Shen Yanqing, Cheng Yihan's face went white in an instant. In front of everyone, Shen Yanqing pulled out his phone, dialed a number, and put it on speaker. The dial tone buzzed 3 times. Not a single person in the dining hall dared to breathe. The call connected. Qiming, Shen Yanqing said into the receiver, notify the Chenyu Capital Risk Control Department. The G Group New Energy Project is to halt all fund disbursement procedures immediately. The 9 billion yuan will be frozen tonight. The voice on the other end replied with just 4 words.
Understood, President Shen.
Shen Yanqing hung up, flipped his phone screen down, and placed it on the table. Ji Yunshu stared at him, her voice tight.
President Shen?
That's right. Shen Yanqing met her gaze, each word deliberate and clear. That money was never something Cheng Yihan secured. It was mine.
I gave it to you.
The faces of the 24 or so people in the dining hall all changed color at that moment. Ji Zhenghong's chopsticks clattered onto the table. Ji Makin's mouth hung open, forgetting to close. Zhao Lanzi's teacup stopped midair, the blood draining completely from her face. Cheng Yihan stood behind Ji Yunshu, his lips twitching a few times but producing no sound at all.
Shen Yanqing turned and walked toward the door.
Behind him came the muffled thud of a chair falling over, followed by Ji Yunshu's voice, pitched a full octave higher than before, laced with a panic she had never shown before. Shen Yanqing, you stop right there.
He did not stop.
The heavy doors of the old mansion swung open, and the night wind poured in, biting and cold. Ji Yunshu's black Bentley was parked at the entrance, Cheng Yihan's jacket still draped over the passenger seat. Shen Yanqing glanced at it, then walked straight toward an unremarkable black sedan parked across the street. Behind him came the urgent clatter of high heels on the stone steps, growing faster and faster. Shen Yanqing, Ji Yunshu, had chased him out. Her face was as pale as paper, the color drained even from her lips, but she still instinctively lifted her chin. It was her default posture when facing any problem. Proud, unyielding, refusing to bow.
What did that phone call mean?
Shen Yanqing turned around and looked at her.
Exactly what it sounded like.
Don't try to scare me with this.
She suppressed the tremor in her voice, doing her best to appear composed. The framework agreement for the 9 billion yuan is signed in black and white. The first tranche of funds is scheduled to arrive tomorrow.
You think you can pull it with one phone call?
Do you think Chen Yu Capital is your personal toy? Shen Yanqing smiled.
You guessed right.
Ji Yunshu's eyes widened for a split second, but she immediately frowned again, adopting the tone one might use to placate a child. Enough, Shen Yanqing. You're just angry because I made you sign the divorce papers. If you want compensation, we can talk about it. Don't joke around with the company's affairs.
She still thought he was throwing a tantrum.
It had been this way for 3 years. When he took a knife's edge for her at a negotiation, she said he was her husband. It was expected. When he revised her proposals overnight, she said he had nothing better to do. It was normal. When he pulled in resources, secured financing, and opened up supply chains for her, she said the G Group's platform was big enough. People wanted to cooperate anyway. Then Cheng Yihan arrived. He traveled with her, sat in on her meetings, carried her bag, blocked the reporters for her. She started to believe that Cheng Yihan was the one who truly understood her, because Cheng Yihan would say, "Miss Ji, you work too hard," when she was tired, while all Shen Yanqing ever did was place a risk report in front of her and say, "This clause cannot be signed." She found Shen Yanqing cold, a killjoy, someone who did not understand the pressure she was under. And now, she was treating him like a husband who was simply having an emotional outburst. Shen Yanqing looked at her and calmly raised one finger.
Ji Yunshu, I gave you 3 chances.
Ji Yunshu's pupils contracted. The first time, he raised a second finger. Cheng Yihan presented the proposal I wrote as his own work. I asked you to check the original document's author. You said I was being petty. The second time, a third finger went up. The Jiangcheng business trip. The hotel bill showed only one suite.
I asked you for an explanation.
You said I didn't trust you.
The third time.
He withdrew his hand, his voice turning cold. Cheng Yihan privately contacted a Chen Yu Capital project assistant, attempting to change the authorized fund recipient.
I forwarded the email to you.
You said he was young and ambitious.
The expression on Ji Yunshu's face cracked, inch by inch. Her lips parted and closed, but she could find not a single word of rebuttal, because every single thing he said was true. She just had not taken it seriously back then. Back then, she felt she was too exhausted, and Shen Yanqing kept harping on these trivial matters. She thought Shen Yanqing was jealous. Jealous that Cheng Yihan was younger, more eloquent, better at making her happy. I gave you chances, Shen Yanqing said.
You threw them away yourself.
Ji Yunshu's fingers clenched around the fabric of her gown. So you said those things in front of my parents? A delayed anger finally churned up from the depths of her eyes. Shen Yanqing, you've gone too far. Shen Yanqing nodded. Compared to you dragging your male secretary in front of the whole family to force me to sign, I'm still not far enough. Ji Yunshu was choked into silence. At that moment, Cheng Yihan also came running out of the mansion. He was not wearing his jacket, the top button of his shirt undone, a thin layer of sweat glistening on his forehead. He looked like a peacock whose tail had been stepped on but was still struggling to maintain its dignity.
Brother Shen, if you've got a problem, take it out on me.
Don't take it out on Miss Ji. He furrowed his brow, his voice carrying a sense of wounded reasonableness. Miss Ji and I truly have nothing between us. You're overthinking everything. Shen Yanqing nearly laughed out loud. This man was far too skilled at this game. Every time he crossed a line, he would place himself squarely in the position of the innocent party. Cheng Yihan, Shen Yanqing looked at him. Did you know that in Chen Yu Capital's risk control system, every single project contact record leaves a trace? Cheng Yihan's expression froze for a fraction of a second. Just a fraction of a second.
But Shen Yanqing saw it.
Ji Yunshu saw it too.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Cheng Yihan recovered quickly, his voice steady. I was simply advancing the project according to Miss Ji's arrangements. I haven't done anything else.
Really?
Shen Yanqing took out his phone, pulled up a screenshot of an email, and held it directly in front of Ji Yunshu's face. The email was sent 7 days ago, at 1:17 in the morning. The sender was Cheng Yihan. The recipient was Lin Kun, a project assistant at Chenyu Capital. The body of the email contained only one line: Shen Yanqing will soon be exiting the Ji Group project. Please change the follow-up contact person to Cheng Yihan. Miss Ji has given verbal confirmation.
Ji Yunshu's pupils constricted sharply.
She whipped her head around to look at Cheng Yihan, her gaze sharp enough to split a person in two.
Cheng Yihan's face finally crumbled.
Miss Ji, I was worried the project processes wouldn't keep up, so I communicated ahead of time. I truly had no other intention. Verbal confirmation? Shen Yanqing pressed him.
You said Miss Ji gave verbal confirmation?
Cheng Yihan gritted his teeth. I misunderstood the situation at the time. You misunderstood, yet you still dared to attach a scanned copy of my electronic signature? Shen Yanqing swiped to a second image. It was an authorization change request form, and on it was his electronic signature. But the edges of the signature showed clear pixelation and cropping marks from being cut and pasted. Ji Yunshu stared at the screen, the last bit of color draining from her face, her voice squeezed out from between clenched teeth, one word at a time. Cheng Yihan, you explain this to me right now. Cheng Yihan's Adam's apple bobbed several times. His lips trembled and it took him a long moment to stammer out. I cropped it from a previous document. I thought it was just an internal process, that it wouldn't affect the actual authorization.
Shen Yanqing put his phone away.
Do you see? He looked at Ji Yunshu. He thought. You all thought I was someone who could be replaced at will. Ji Yunshu was silent for a full 5 seconds. Then her voice suddenly softened. So soft it did not sound like it could possibly come from her mouth. Yanqing, let's go home and talk about tonight properly.
The divorce agreement can be put aside for now.
The 9 billion cannot be stopped. The Ji Group cannot withstand this kind of shock.
There it was.
The real point, not that the marriage could not stop, not that he should not leave her, that the funds could not stop. 3 years of marriage, and its weight was measured in that single sentence.
Shen Yanqing suddenly found it absurdly laughable.
He asked her, if this money were not mine, would you have chased me out here tonight?
Ji Yunshu frowned.
This is not the time to discuss that. Shen Yanqing nodded. I understand. He pulled open the car door and got into the driver's seat. The ordinary black sedan's engine started, its sound particularly clear in the quiet night. Ji Yunshu stood outside the car window and said urgently, Shen Yanqing, if you really leave today, there's no turning back. Shen Yanqing gripped the steering wheel and did not look at her. Ji Yunshu, the moment you made me sign, there was already no turning back. He pressed the accelerator, and the car pulled smoothly away from the Ji family's old mansion. In the rearview mirror, Ji Yunshu stood on the front steps. Cheng Yihan reached out to steady her arm, and for the first time she shook him off. But it no longer mattered. As the car turned out of the villa district, Shen Yanqing's phone vibrated. Chenyu Capital's vice president, Jiang Qiming, had sent a document. The title read, Confirmation of Termination of Fund Disbursement for the Ji Group New Energy Project. Below the document was a line of text. President Shen, Ji Group CFO Ji Yunshu just contacted me. He said there is a 300 million yuan short-term debt maturing tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Shen Yanqing looked at that line of text, and a smile without a trace of warmth flickered at the corner of his mouth. The Ji family had forced him to sign tonight, not just for the divorce. They needed to lock down the 9 billion yuan funds completely before the short-term debt exploded, announced to the outside world that the funds were already in place, stabilize the creditors and the stock price, and then once the money arrived, push Cheng Yihan out as the project lead. Everything would be new. Everything would be under control. Everyone had calculated everything perfectly except for one thing they had overlooked. The money did not belong to the Ji family, and the authority was never theirs either. Shen Yanqing typed 2 words and sent the reply. Freeze it all. The dining hall was silent for about 3 seconds. Then, like a stone hitting the surface of a pond, the ripples exploded outward. Ji Yunshu's second uncle Ji Zheng was the first to react. His chopsticks clattered onto the table, his mouth hanging open, unable to close for a long time. The third aunt, Ji Makin, held her teacup frozen midair, forgetting to set it down. The color drained completely from the face of the mother-in-law, Zhao Lanzi, her lips quivering as she failed to squeeze out a single word. The father-in-law, Ji Yunshu, sat in the host's seat, his face ashen, the veins at his temples pulsing faintly. He did not speak, but the way he looked at Shen Yanqing had changed. It was no longer the disdain reserved for an unwanted son-in-law, but a panic born of sudden dawning realization. Ji Yunshu was still standing, both palms pressed against the tabletop, her knuckles white from the force. She stared at Shen Yanqing, her voice stretched taut as a wire about to snap.
That phone call you just made.
Who was it to? Chenyu Capital's Vice President, Jiang Qiming. Shen Yanqing flashed his phone screen at her. The call log clearly displayed the name Jiang Qiming, with a call duration of 1 minute and 4 seconds. Cheng Yihan stood behind Ji Yunshu, the expression on his face shifting through a spectacular sequence. From smug satisfaction to confusion, from confusion to shock, and now settling into a kind of iron gray. He licked his lips and forced out a smile, his voice carrying a strained lightness.
Brother Shen, don't joke like that.
Everyone knows the scale of an institution like Chenyu Capital.
A man like you?
He trailed off, swallowing the rest of the sentence, but everyone in the room could hear what he had meant to say.
A kept man like you. How could you possibly know anyone at Chenyu?
A man like me what? Shen Yanqing turned around and faced him squarely. Go on, finish that sentence. Cheng Yihan did not continue. His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed and his eyes darted toward Ji Yunshu, as if waiting for her to decide what to do next. Ji Yunshu drew a deep breath, struggling to keep her voice steady. Shen Yanqing, the framework agreement is signed in black and white. The first tranche of funds arrives tomorrow.
You think one phone call from you can just pull it?
Do you think Chenyu is your family's private business? Shen Yanqing let out a short laugh. The smile was faint, the corner of his mouth barely curving upward, but there was not a trace of warmth in his eyes.
You guessed right.
He opened an encrypted folder on his phone, tapped on the top file, and turned the screen toward Ji Yunshu. It was a diagram of the ownership structure of Chenyu Capital. The ultimate beneficiary line read 2 words, Shen Yanqing. The document date was 4 years ago, a full year before he and Ji Yunshu had even married. Ji Yunshu stared at the screen, her pupils contracting sharply. Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something, but no sound came out. Shen Yanqing put his phone away. His voice was not loud, but every person in the dining hall heard him clearly. Chenyu Capital is not my family's business. It is my business. My own. That 9 billion yuan was never a deal I brought to the G Group. It is from my own capital pool. From beginning to end, it has always been my own money. The dining hall erupted. Several distant relatives of the Ji family began whispering to each other, their voices growing louder. Ji Zhonghong shot to his feet, his chair legs scraping against the floor with a piercing screech. He pointed a finger at Shen Yanqing. You hid this for so many years.
What exactly were you scheming?
Shen Yanqing turned his head and looked at him, his gaze as calm as a pool of stagnant water.
I hid it?
3 years ago, I told every single one of you. The second month after Yunshu and I married, I prepared a document of my asset situation and gave it to Mom and Dad. He looked at Ji Zhongting and Zhao Lanzi, and also to second uncle and third aunt. His voice was steady, so steady it was unnerving.
What did you all say at the time?
Second uncle said, Zhao Shen, manage these little companies of yours on your own. Don't add to the Ji family's troubles. Third aunt said, a son-in-law having some private savings is perfectly normal. No need to report it to us.
Ji Zhonghong's face went rigid. He remembered.
At that family dinner, Shen Yanqing had indeed brought it up once, but he had not even bothered to flip open the document. He had set it aside and turned to Ji Zhongting, saying, Big brother, this son-in-law of yours is far too small-minded, treating a business worth a few million as if it's something worth mentioning to us. He had never asked how many millions those few million were, and he had never imagined that the unit following that number would be 100 million.
Ji Yunshu's body swayed, and she reached out to grip the edge of the table.
That afternoon from 3 years ago suddenly surfaced from the depths of her memory. Shen Yanqing had been holding a document, sitting in the small living room of their rented apartment, telling her, my mother left me an asset before she passed. It's called Chenyu Capital. Its scale is not small. She had been on a call at the time. It was a bank calling about an overdue loan and the voice on the other end was urgent and aggressive. She had listened to Shen Yanqing's words, waved her hand dismissively, and said, handle these small matters yourself.
Don't bring them to me and bother me.
From that day on, Shen Yanqing had never mentioned the word Chenyu again. The small matter he had mentioned, she had treated as small for 3 years. Ji Yunshu's hand began to tremble. She opened her mouth, and her voice was a full octave lower than before.
Why didn't you say anything?
I did say something. Shen Yanqing looked at her.
You didn't listen.
Just then, Ji Zhongting finally spoke. His voice was low and hoarse as if ground out from deep within his chest. Yanqing, this matter tonight. He paused, as if weighing his words carefully. This matter tonight. We can sit down and talk about it slowly.
We're family.
What issue can't be resolved through discussion? Shen Yanqing looked at this old man who had once commanded the business world with authority. Ji Yunshu was now looking at him with an expression Shen Yanqing had never seen before. He was not looking at Shen Yanqing the person. He was looking at that 9 billion yuan. Dad, Shen Yanqing said, do you remember what you said when I walked through that door last night? Ji Yunshu's expression flickered. You said, tonight we only say what needs to be said. If it shouldn't be said, keep your mouth shut. Shen Yanqing's tone was utterly flat. You knew what they were going to make me sign. You didn't stop them.
It's not that you didn't see.
It's that you felt there was no need to stop them, because at that time, in your eyes, Shen Yanqing was not worth 9 billion yuan. Ji Yunshu could not utter a word in response. Shen Yanqing picked up the glass of red wine he had not touched all evening, and drained it in one go. The bottom of the glass hit the marble tabletop with a crisp, clear ring. The money is mine. The project is mine. The divorce agreement I've signed. From this moment on, between the Ji Group and Chenyu Capital, there are no personal ties.
Only business rules.
He turned and walked toward the door. Behind him came Ji Yunshu's voice, sharp and urgent, as if someone had her by the throat. Shen Yanqing, you stop right there.
He did not stop.
He pushed open the heavy doors of the dining hall. The draft in the corridor of the old mansion carried the chill of night dew straight into his face. Behind him were the muffled thuds of chairs falling over, the urgent clicking of high heels against the marble floor, and the flustered footsteps of Cheng Yihan scrambling to follow. Shen Yanqing pushed open the front door of the mansion. Ji Yunshu's black Bentley was parked under the portico, Cheng Yihan's jacket still draped over the passenger seat. He swept his gaze past it and walked straight toward the unremarkable black sedan parked across the street. Ji Yunshu chased him down the steps, her high heels clattering rapidly against the stone. On the last step, she nearly stumbled. Cheng Yihan reached out to support her, and she flung his hand away. Shen Yanqing. She stood outside his car door, her voice squeezing out through clenched teeth. If you drive away tonight, don't even think about ever coming back. Shen Yanqing rolled down the window and turned his head to look at her. The night wind tousled her hair, the diamond earrings by her temples swaying and clinking. That refined face was now written over with anger and panic. She had probably never imagined that the man who had been compliant and obedient to her for 3 years would one day flip the table in front of the entire family.
Ji Yunshu.
His voice was very soft, as if he were talking about something that had nothing to do with him.
When you made me sign just now, you weren't thinking about letting me come back either.
The window rolled up. The engine started. The black sedan glided silently out of the gates of the Ji family's old mansion, its taillights dragging 2 blurry red streaks through the night. In the rearview mirror, Ji Yunshu stood on the steps. Cheng Yihan leaned in to say something and was shoved away by a single slap of her hand. Shen Yanqing withdrew his gaze. As the car turned out of the villa district, his phone rang.
Jiang Qiming.
President Shen, the Ji Group's CFO, Qi Huayan, just contacted me.
Jiang Qiming's voice carried a professional calm.
He says the Ji Group has a 300 million yuan short-term debt maturing tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. If Chenya's first tranche of funds doesn't arrive on time, the Ji Group could face a cascade of defaults. Shen Yanqing gripped the steering wheel and was silent for 2 seconds. The Ji family's full mobilization tonight to force him to sign had indeed not been about the divorce. They needed to lock down the 9 billion yuan completely before the short-term debt exploded, push Cheng Yihan onto the stage, announce to the public that the funds were in place, and stabilize the stock price and creditors. Once the money was in the account and the dust had settled, the former husband could be swept out the door like garbage. The calculations had been so loud you could almost hear the abacus beads clicking. President Shen, how should we handle this?
Jiang Qiming asked.
Shen Yanqing looked at the open road ahead and answered, his voice so calm it held not a ripple of emotion. Follow procedure, full suspension of funds.
Not a single cent goes out.
He hung up, tossed his phone onto the passenger seat, and rolled down the window. The night wind poured in, dispersing the stuffiness in the car. The entire city receded rapidly outside the car window, the neon lights blurring into continuous ribbons of light.
3 years.
He had spent 3 years loving one person and then spent 3 minutes drawing the period at the end of that marriage with his own hand. He thought he would be heartbroken. But as he drove onto the elevated highway and watched the city lights surge toward him from every direction, the first feeling that rose in his chest was not pain.
It was relief.
The relief of someone who had stood in the mud for far too long, finally lifting a foot and walking out. Ji Yunshu did not let the matter rest. Less than half an hour after Shen Yanqing got home, his phone rang. It was Ji Yunshu. He did not answer. It rang again, Still her. When it rang a third time, he picked up. Shen Yanqing, where are you? Her voice was hoarse and breathless, as if she had been crying, or was trembling with rage.
I need to see you.
Now.
I'm at my own home.
Your own. She paused. When did you move out? The night I signed the agreement. Silence stretched for 2 seconds on the other end.
She had probably never imagined Shen Yanqing would be so decisive.
Sign the papers.
Move out. Not a single extra word.
She had assumed he would do what he always did, silently wait for her anger to subside when she was mad, withdraw into silence when she was cold, and be at her beck and call whenever she needed him. What she did not know was that for the past 3 years, every single one of his silences had not been surrender. He had been saving it all up, and once he had saved enough, he would leave.
Come out. Let's talk in person, Ji Yunshu said.
Talk about what?
All the things you just said, and that 9 billion. Miss Ji, Shen Yanqing cut her off, his voice completely flat. I've already made myself very clear. The money is mine. The project is mine. The divorce agreement, you told me to sign it, and I did.
What part is still unclear?
Ji Yunshu's voice pitched upward. Shen Yanqing, you hid your identity and deceived me for 3 years.
I deceived you.
Shen Yanqing suddenly let out a laugh, short and cold. Ji Yunshu, 3 years ago, I put the ownership documents for Chen Yu in front of you and told you it was the company my mother left me.
You were on the phone at the time.
When you finished listening, you said one thing to me. Handle these small matters yourself. Don't bring them to me and bother me.
Do you remember that? Silence on the other end. A complete silence, so thorough that even the sound of breathing disappeared. Shen Yanqing continued, his tone as matter-of-fact as reading from an investigation report. The first month, I printed out Chen Yu's asset list and put it on the nightstand. You didn't flip through it? The second month, I wrote up a strategic cooperation framework between Chen Yu and the G Group and put it on your office desk.
You didn't look at it? You tossed it to administration for filing?
By the third month, I stopped bringing it up. Ji Yunshu's voice began to tremble.
Then why didn't you ever mention it again after that?
Because I brought it up 3 times, and 3 times you didn't listen. Shen Yanqing switched the phone to his other hand and walked to the window. The night outside was deep and thick, the city lights flickering in the distance. Eventually, I figured it out. You didn't need to know what Shen Yanqing had. You just needed Shen Yanqing to show up when you needed him and disappear when you didn't. So I did exactly what you wanted.
I never said that.
Ji Yunshu practically screamed it. You didn't say it. Shen Yanqing's voice was faint. But everything you did said it. Ji Yunshu's breathing quickened, as if someone had a grip on her throat. After a long moment, she lowered her voice and said, Fine,
I was wrong about that.
I shouldn't have ignored you. I shouldn't have treated your words like background noise. But can we talk about the real issue now? That 9 billion. Miss Ji, this is the real issue. Shen Yanqing sat down on the sofa and pressed the speakerphone button. His voice filled the entire living room. From beginning to end, you haven't realized that the problem between us is not the 9 billion. It's that over these past 3 years I handed you 3 knives and all 3 times you used them to stab me.
What are you talking about?
The first time,
Shen Yanqing leaned back against the sofa and looked up at the ceiling. Cheng Yihan presented my proposal as his own work at an internal company meeting for the first time. The original document for that proposal, I sent it to you that evening. The next morning, he had already changed the author name to his own.
When I told you about it, what did you say?
Ji Yunshu did not answer. Shen Yanqing answered for her.
You said, Shen Yanqing, Cheng Yihan just joined the company. He needs opportunities to prove himself.
You're her husband. Why are you fighting with a new colleague over this?
Don't be so petty.
That was...
The second time,
Shen Yanqing did not give her room to explain.
the Jiangqing business trip.
Cheng Yihan went with you. The hotel only booked 1 suite, and the front desk registration had both your names.
When I asked you for an explanation, how did you answer?
Ji Yunshu's breathing grew heavier and heavier. You said I was drunk that night. Yihan was just taking care of me. Can you stop being so paranoid? You don't trust me. The third time, Shen Yanqing raised 3 fingers and pressed them down one by one on the coffee table. Cheng Yihan privately contacted Chen Yu's project assistant to try to change the authorized fund contact person. The reason he gave was Miss Ji has given verbal confirmation.
I forwarded the email to you.
How did you respond?
The other end of the line went utterly silent. You said he's young and driven, there's nothing wrong with him taking some initiative. Stop always nitpicking at the little things he does. Shen Yanqing withdrew his 3 fingers and clenched them into a fist. 3 times.
Ji Yunshu. 3 times.
The air in the living room seemed to solidify. The sound of the wind outside, slipping through the gaps in the curtains, made a faint, mournful hum. After a very long time, Ji Yunshu's voice finally came through the receiver, so low it was barely audible. Why didn't you fight with me back then? Because fighting was useless, Shen Yanqing said. You, as a person, never listen to what others say. You only see what you want to see. If I had fought with you then, you would have thought I was jealous that Cheng Yihan was younger and more capable. If I tried to reason with you, you would have thought I was holding you back. If I laid the evidence right in front of you, you would have thought I wasn't magnanimous enough. He paused, then added, so I waited.
Waited for what?
Waited for you to push Cheng Yihan with your own hands into a position he had no right to touch.
Waited for you to see for yourself exactly what kind of thing he is.
A trace of a sob suddenly crept into Ji Yunshu's voice.
Yanqing, I was deceived by him.
You weren't deceived by him. Shen Yanqing's voice turned cold. So cold even he found it unfamiliar.
You were unwilling to wake up.
Every compliment Cheng Yihan gave you, every look he threw your way, was him using you to climb higher. He wasn't deceiving you, he was feeding you. And every bite you took, you opened your own mouth to accept. You enjoyed the validation he gave you, enjoyed hearing him tell you how hard you worked and how tough you had it, enjoyed having him curse the board, curse the shareholders, curse me.
All of that.
His voice paused for a beat. Those were all your own choices. A faint sound came from the other end, as if someone had covered the receiver with their hand or was desperately trying to hold back sobs. So, Ji Yunshu, Shen Yanqing said, Cheng Yihan did not destroy us. You pushed me out with your own hands. 3 warnings.
3 times.
I gave you 3 chances. The first time you called me petty. The second time, you blamed me for not trusting you.
The 3rd time, you said I was always nitpicking.
He stood up, walked to the window, and looked at the faint hint of dawn beginning to show at the horizon.
And now you want to talk business with me?
For the G Group's business, you should go find Cheng Yihan. Didn't he secure the 9 billion for you?
Wasn't he the one who independently made the project happen?
Let him come and carry the blame.
Yanqing.
It's late.
Shen Yanqing glanced at the clock on the wall. 2:17 in the morning. Tomorrow I need to go to the company to process the termination procedures for the G Group project. If you have work-related matters, go through the Chenyu front desk to make an appointment. He hung up. The moment the screen went dark, he saw a message Ji Yunshu had sent. Just one line.
Yanqing, I was wrong.
Give me one chance, please. Shen Yanqing glanced at it, flipped the phone screen down, and placed it on the coffee table. Outside the window, the city's night pressed down heavily. In the distance, lights were already on in some of those office towers. Early risers probably starting a new day. In the past 3 years, he had been woken countless times in the dead of night by Ji Yunshu's phone calls. She would say the company's cash flow was about to break. She would say the board was forcing her to sign something.
She would say suppliers were blocking the lobby and refusing to leave.
Every single time he had gone.
Not once did he make an excuse.
Back then, he thought that was love. Later, he understood it was just habit. Ji Yunshu had grown accustomed to having him there. It was not that she liked having him there. She was just used to it.
And now, he was finally not there.
The next morning at 7 o'clock, Shen Yanqing got up right on time, washed up, changed clothes, boiled water and made a cup of instant coffee. He stood at the kitchen island, drank that cup of coffee, picked up his car keys, and walked out the door. In the elevator, his phone buzzed. Jiang Qiming had sent a message. Qi Huayan called 3 more times. He says the creditors are already at the G Group's front door. Shen Yanqing replied, follow the plan. The elevator doors opened and the cold air of the underground parking garage rushed toward him. He got into the driver's seat, started the engine and set the navigation destination to Chenyu Capital's headquarters. As the car pulled out of the garage, the sunlight had just crested the tall buildings in the distance, spilling across the windshield in a wash of gold. Shen Yanqing squinted, reached up and pulled down the sun visor. His phone buzzed again. This time it was not Jiang Qiming. It was an unfamiliar number. He answered.
Yanqing.
It was Zhao Lanz's voice, shrill and urgent, completely devoid of the lofty superior attitude she had carried at the banquet the night before. Yanqing, listen to Mom. Mom was wrong last night. Mom shouldn't have spoken to you that way. For the sake of 3 years of husband and wife. Shen Yanqing pressed the end call button. He switched his phone to silent and tossed it onto the passenger seat. The screen lit up again and again. The caller IDs cycled from Ji Yunshu to Zhao Lanzi to Ji Zhengting. The three of them were taking turns calling, like a relay race. He answered none of them. The car merged onto the city's main thoroughfare, the morning rush hour traffic beginning to converge. Shen Yanqing pulled into the left turn lane and queued up in front of a red light. Outside his window, a food delivery driver on an electric scooter pulled up beside him. A faded sticker was plastered on the insulated box on the back of the scooter. It read, "Learn to live your own life first." Shen Yanqing stared at those words for a long moment, then suddenly laughed. It was a very faint, very light laugh, flickering past the corner of his mouth and gone, like a puff of white breath in winter that dissipates before it even takes shape. The light turned green. He stepped on the accelerator. In the rearview mirror, the city where he had lived for 3 years slowly unfolded in the morning light. Those skyscrapers, those neon signs, everything connected to Ji Yunshu, all of it was shrinking, growing more distant, becoming a blurry gray dot at the edge of the mirror. He did not look back. Ji Yunshu did not give up. Less than half an hour after Shen Yanqing got home, his phone rang. Ji Yunshu. He didn't answer. It rang again. Still her. When it rang the third time, he picked up.
Shen Yanqing, where are you?
Her voice was hoarse and rushed, as if she had been crying or was shaking with anger.
I need to see you.
Now, I'm at my own place.
Your own?
She paused for a second. When did you move out? The night I signed the papers. There was 2 seconds of silence on the other end of the line. She had probably never imagined Shen Yanqing would be so direct. Sign. Move out. Not a single extra word. She had assumed he would do what he always did, silently wait for her to calm down when she was angry, withdraw into himself when she gave him the cold shoulder, and be at her beck and call whenever she needed him. But what she didn't know was that for the past 3 years, every single one of his silences hadn't been surrender. Had been saving it all up. Once had saved enough, he left.
Come out.
Let's talk in person, Ji Yunshu said.
About what?
The things you just said and that 9 billion.
Miss Ji?
Shen Yanqing cut her off, his voice flat.
I've already made myself very clear.
The money is mine. The project is mine.
You asked me to sign the divorce agreement, and I signed?
What part is still not clear?
Ji Yunshu's voice pitched upward. Shen Yanqing, you hid your true identity and lied to me for 3 years.
I lied to you?
Shen Yanqing suddenly laughed, the sound short and cold. Ji Yunshu, 3 years ago I put Chenya's ownership documents in front of you and told you it was the company my mother left me. You were on the phone at the time. When you finished, you said one thing to me, handle these small matters yourself, don't bring them to me. Do you remember that? The line went quiet, very quiet. So quiet he couldn't even hear her breathing. Shen Yanqing continued, his tone like he was delivering a report. The first month, I printed out Chenya's asset list and put it on the nightstand. You didn't look at it. The second month, I wrote up a strategic cooperation framework between Chenyu and the G Group and put it on your desk.
You didn't read it?
You tossed it to administration for filing.
By the third month, I stopped trying. Ji Yunshu's voice began to tremble.
Then why didn't you ever mention it again?
Because I brought it up 3 times, and 3 times you didn't listen. Shen Yanqing switched the phone to his other hand and walked to the window. The night was thick, and the city lights flickered on and off in the distance. Eventually, I figured it out.
You didn't need to know what Shen Yanqing had.
You only needed Shen Yanqing to be there when you needed him, and to disappear when you didn't.
So I did exactly what you asked.
I never said that.
Ji Yunshu practically shouted it.
You never said it.
Shen Yanqing's voice was faint, but every single thing you did said it. Ji Yunshu's breathing grew rapid, like someone had her by the throat. After a long while, she lowered her voice and said, "Fine. I was wrong about that. I shouldn't have brushed you off. I shouldn't have treated your words like background noise."
But can we please talk about the real issue now?
That 9 billion.
Miss Ji, this is the real issue.
Shen Yanqing sat down on the sofa and pressed the speakerphone button. His voice filled the living room. From start to finish, you still haven't realized that the problem between us isn't the 9 billion. It's that over the past 3 years, I handed you 3 knives and you used all 3 of them to stab me.
What are you talking about?
The first time, Shen Yanqing leaned back against the sofa and looked up at the ceiling. The first time Cheng Yihan presented my proposal as his own work at an internal company meeting. I had sent you the original document for that proposal that very evening. The next morning, he had already changed the author name to his.
When I told you about it, what did you say?
Ji Yunshu didn't answer. Shen Yanqing answered for her. You said, Shen Yanqing, Cheng Yihan is new to the company, and needs chances to prove himself. You're her husband. Why are you picking a fight with a new colleague?
Don't be so petty.
That was...
The second time.
Shen Yanqing didn't give her a chance to explain. The business trip to Jiangcheng. Cheng Yihan went with you. The hotel only booked one suite, and the front desk registration had both of your names on it. When I asked you for an explanation, what did you say?
Ji Yunshu's breathing grew heavier and heavier.
You said I was drunk that night. Yihan was just taking care of me. Can you stop being so paranoid?
You don't trust me at all.
The third time.
Shen Yanqing raised 3 fingers and pressed them down one by one on the coffee table. Cheng Yihan privately contacted Chenya's project assistant and tried to change the authorized fund contact person. The reason he gave was Miss Ji has given verbal confirmation. I forwarded the email to you. How did you respond? The other end of the line went completely silent. You said, Hess young and ambitious. There's nothing wrong with him taking some initiative. Stop always picking on his little flaws. Shen Yanqing pulled his 3 fingers back and clenched them into a fist.
3 times.
Ji Yunshu. 3 times. The air in the living room seemed to freeze solid. The sound of the wind slipping through a gap in the curtains made a faint, mournful hum. After a very long time, Ji Yunshu's voice finally came through the receiver, so low it was barely a whisper.
Why didn't you fight with me back then?
Because fighting would have been useless. Shen Yanqing said, you as a person never listen to what anyone else says. You only see what you want to see. If I had fought with you back then, you would have thought I was just jealous because Cheng Yihan is younger and more capable. If I had tried to reason with you, you would have thought I was holding you back. If I had put the evidence right in front of your face, you would have said I wasn't being magnanimous enough. He paused, then said, so I waited.
Waited for what?
Waited for you to push Cheng Yihan, with your own hands, into a position he had no right to be in.
Waited for you to see for yourself exactly what kind of man he really is?
A choked sob suddenly crept into Ji Yunshu's voice. Yanqing, he fooled me.
He didn't fool you.
Shen Yanqing's voice turned cold, so cold even he found it unfamiliar. You didn't want to wake up! Every compliment Cheng Yihan fed you, every look he gave you, was him using you to climb higher.
He wasn't fooling you.
He was feeding you, and every single bite, you opened your own mouth to take. You enjoyed the validation he gave you. You enjoyed hearing him tell you how hard you worked, and how difficult things were for you.
You enjoyed having him curse the board, curse the shareholders, curse me.
All of that.
His voice paused for a beat. Those were all your own choices. A faint noise came from the other end, like someone had covered the receiver with their hand, or was desperately trying to hold back tears. So Ji Yunshu, Shen Yanqing said, Cheng Yihan didn't destroy us. You pushed me out with your own 2 hands.
3 warnings.
3.
I gave you 3 chances.
The first time you called me petty. The second time, you blamed me for not trusting you. The third time, you said I was always picking on him. He stood up, walked to the window, and watched the first pale hint of dawn beginning to show at the horizon.
And now you want to talk business with me?
For G Group's business, you should go find Cheng Yihan. Didn't he secure the 9 billion for you?
Didn't he make the project happen all by himself?
Let him come and take the blame.
Yanqing.
It's late. Shen Yanqing glanced at the clock on the wall. 2:17 in the morning. Tomorrow I need to go to the office to process the termination paperwork for the G Group project. If you have work-related matters, go through the Chenyu front desk to make an appointment. He hung up. The moment the phone screen went dark, he saw a message Ji Yunshu had sent.
Just one line.
Yanqing, I was wrong.
Please, just give me one chance. Shen Yanqing looked at it, then flipped the phone screen down and left it on the coffee table. Outside the window, the city's night pressed down heavily. In the distance, lights were already on in some of those office towers, early risers probably starting their day. Over the past 3 years had been woken countless times in the dead of night by Ji Yunshu's phone calls. She'd say the company's cash flow was about to snap. She'd say the board was forcing her to sign something. She'd say suppliers were blocking the lobby and refusing to leave.
Every single time, head gone.
Not once did he ever say no.
Back then, Head thought that was love. Later, he understood it was just habit. Ji Yunshu had gotten used to having him around.
Not because she loved having him around, just because she was used to it.
And now he was finally not there anymore. The next morning at 7, Shen Yanqing got up on time, washed up, changed his clothes, boiled some water and made a cup of instant coffee. He stood at the kitchen island, drank that cup of coffee, picked up his car keys and walked out the door. In the elevator, his phone buzzed. Jiang Qiming had sent a message. Qi Huayan called 3 more times. Said the creditors are already at the G Group's front door. Shen Yanqing replied, "Follow the plan." The elevator doors opened, and the cold air of the underground parking garage hit him. He got into the driver's seat, started the engine, and set the navigation for Chenyu Capital headquarters. As the car pulled out of the garage, the sun had just cleared the tall buildings in the distance and was hitting the windshield in a wash of gold. Shen Yanqing squinted and reached up to pull down the sun visor. His phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Jiang Qiming. It was an unfamiliar number. He answered.
Yanqing.
It was Zhao Lanz's voice, shrill and urgent, completely devoid of the lofty, superior attitude Shed had at the banquet the night before. Yanqing, listen to Mom. Mom was wrong last night. Mom shouldn't have spoken to you that way. For the sake of 3 years as husband and wife. Shen Yanqing pressed the end call button. He switched his phone to silent and tossed it onto the passenger seat. The screen lit up again and again. The caller IDs cycled from Ji Yunshu to Zhao Lanzi to Ji Zhengting. The three of them were taking turns calling, like a relay race. He answered none of them. The car merged onto the city's main road, the morning rush hour traffic starting to build. Shen Yanqing pulled into the left turn lane and stopped at a red light. Outside his window, a food delivery driver on an electric scooter pulled up beside him. A faded sticker was plastered on the insulated box on the back of the scooter. It said, "Figure out your own life first." Shen Yanqing stared at those words for a long moment, then suddenly laughed. It was a very faint, very light laugh, just a flicker at the corner of his mouth that was gone as quickly as it came, like a puff of white breath in winter that disappears before it can even form. The light turned green. He hit the gas. In the rearview mirror, the city where Head lived for 3 years slowly unfolded in the morning light. Those skyscrapers, those neon lights, everything connected to Ji Yunshu, all of it was shrinking, getting farther and farther away, turning into a blurry gray dot at the edge of the mirror. He didn't look back. The next morning at 8:40, Shen Yanqing was sitting in the Chenyu Capital conference room. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows lay the CBD skyline, the morning light spreading across the glass curtain walls as the entire city slowly woke up. Jiang Qiming pushed the door open and walked in, a stack of documents in his hands as thick as a dictionary. Starting at 11 last night, the G Group sent 7 consecutive letters of explanation. He placed the documents in front of Shen Yanqing, his tone unhurried. Shen Yanqing flipped open the first one. The wording was aggressive, stating that Chenyu Capital's unilateral suspension of fund disbursement violated the spirit of the Cooperation Framework Agreement and demanding an immediate resumption of the transfer. The second letter softened its tone, saying both sides had a misunderstanding and hoped to communicate as soon as possible. The third letter began to explain, calling the authorization change an internal handover error. By the fourth letter, it had turned into a plea. By the seventh, only one sentence remained. Please consider the G Group's actual operational pressures and release the first tranche of 300 million yuan.
Shen Yanqing closed the folder.
What time does the 300 million short-term debt mature?
9 o'clock sharp.
Jiang Qiming glanced at his watch. 18 minutes left. The G Group's CFO, Qi Huayan, called twice more just now.
I didn't pick up.
Shen Yanqing asked, where else can they find money right now? Jiang Qiming shook his head and pulled up a risk control report. Last year, the G Group used its accounts receivable as collateral for 2 rounds of financing. Its liquid assets have already been squeezed to the limit. The credit lines at the banks were fully maxed out last month. Private lending interest rates are sky high, and they don't dare borrow more. And the worst part is, the G Group included the 9 billion yuan project in its external fundraising prospectus. A lot of creditors agreed to extend the terms precisely because they believed this money was arriving today. So the moment the funding stops, everyone will know the G Group is in trouble, Shen Yanqing said.
Exactly.
Jiang Qiming flipped the report to the last page. The creditors are already waiting downstairs at the G Group headquarters. At exactly 9 o'clock, Shen Yanqing's phone rang. The screen showed 3 words. Ji Yunshu. He didn't answer.
It rang a second time.
He still didn't answer.
He turned his phone face down on the desk and kept reading the risk control report. When it rang a third time, he picked up. The voice on the other end was hoarse and dry, like someone who had been up all night without sleep.
Shen Yanqing, where are you?
The office. Chen Yu?
Yeah.
There was a 2-second silence on the line. Ji Yunshu probably still hadn't gotten used to this reality. The husband she had once sidelined in the G Group's strategy department was now sitting in Chenyu Capital's conference room, deciding the fate of her and the entire G Group. She drew a deep breath, and Shen Yanqing could hear the clamor of voices and hurried footsteps in the background of her call. I'm coming over right now.
Let's talk.
Talk about what?
The funds?
Shen Yanqing let out a short laugh.
Then you should have the project lead come talk.
Ji Yunshu immediately responded, "I'll come myself."
Haven't you already got a new project lead?
Silence fell again on the other end of the line. Shen Yanqing could almost picture the expression on her face. Pride ground to dust by reality, anger with nowhere to go, her lips pressed so tightly they had turned white. After a long pause, Ji Yunshu lowered her voice and said, "Yanqing, I was too impulsive last night. I admit I shouldn't have let Cheng Yihan get involved in our personal matters."
Just personal matters?
Shen Yanqing's voice was flat. "Miss Ji, the short-term debt matures at 9:30. You have 27 minutes? Ji Yunshu's breath caught sharply.
You know about that?
Of course I know.
Shen Yanqing opened another report and read it out to her without any hurry. Last October, you used the Donggang warehouse accounts receivable as collateral and borrowed 160 million. In December, you used overseas equipment orders as collateral and borrowed 90 million. This March, the G Group borrowed another 50 million through a related company. The three loans rolled over to today, exactly 300 million. The other end of the line went completely dead. She had never shown Shen Yanqing any of these numbers. She had assumed Shen Yanqing had long since withdrawn from the G Group's inner circle and knew nothing. But Chen Yi's project risk control system dug far deeper than she had ever imagined. After a very long silence, Ji Yunshu's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Since you know, then you should understand even more clearly that the G Group cannot afford to break." "I do understand." Shen Yanqing put down the report.
Miss G, you've misunderstood.
"I understand that the G Group cannot afford to break, but that doesn't mean I'm going to save it." A sudden sharp sound of shattering glass came through the phone, like someone had knocked something over. Then a man's voice sounded in the background. It was Cheng Yihan.
"Miss G, the bank is pushing us.
Finance says the creditors are already downstairs at the building." His voice wasn't loud, but he deliberately made sure the phone picked it up, so Shen Yanqing would hear it. Ji Yunshu hastily covered the receiver, but it was too late.
Shen Yanqing asked, "Has still in your office?"
Ji Yunshu's voice noticeably faltered. "It's working hours."
"Good."
Shen Yanqing hung up the phone. Jiang Qiming looked at him. "Should I have legal issue a formal termination notice?" Shen Yanqing shook his head.
"Not yet."
"If I terminate now, the Ji family will blame everything on Chen Yu, saying we changed our minds at the last minute. I want everyone to see clearly. It's not that I'm not cooperating. It's that the G Group itself handed the project to a man who forged authorizations, stole credit for other people's work, and illegally contacted the funding party." At 9:27, Ji Huayan's call came through. He was the G Group's financial director, and one of the few people who knew Shen Yanqing's real role in this project. President Shen.
Ji Huayan's voice was very low, and in the background you could vaguely hear the sound of arguing, like a lot of people were quarreling in the hallway.
"Miss Ji asked me to check if Chen Yu could release 50 million as a bridge loan, even just 50 million.
Shen Yanqing asked back, "What's your personal recommendation?"
Ji Huayan was silent for a few seconds, then said 4 words.
"I don't recommend releasing it."
"Reason?"
"Because Cheng Yihan had the finance department prepare a project bonus proposal yesterday afternoon. He wants to issue a special bonus of 30 million to his own team. The reason cited is facilitating the 90 billion yuan cooperation with Chen Yu Capital independently." Shen Yanqing laughed. "Yesterday afternoon, just hours before he was forced to sign the papers, Cheng Yihan had already been calculating how much money he could take for himself."
"Do you have the document?"
"Yes, send it to me." "President Shen."
Ji Huayan's voice dropped even lower. "If I send this to you, it means I'm completely burning my bridges with Miss Ji." Shen Yanqing said, "Director Qi, you are the head of finance, not the scapegoat. If the G Group collapses today, the first person pushed out to take the blame won't be Ji Yunshu, and it won't be Cheng Yihan." The line went quiet. 10 seconds later, an email landed in Shen Yanqing's inbox. The attachment was a draft of the special bonus proposal for the new energy cooperation. The first line of the first page read, "Cheng Yihan, proposed bonus amount, 30 million yuan. Reason for application. Independently facilitated a 10 billion level capital cooperation project." Shen Yanqing forwarded the email to Jiang Qiming. "Archive it."
Jiang Qiming glanced at the screen and nodded.
At 9:30, the G Group's 300 million short-term debt officially came due. At 9:35, the first piece of news exploded in financial circles. G Group suspected of delaying short-term debt repayment. At 9:38, a second media outlet followed up. Multiple creditor representatives have appeared downstairs at the G Group headquarters. Specific amounts unclear. At 9:40, Ji Yunshu called again. This time Shen Yanqing didn't answer, He opened his laptop, logged into Chenyu Capital's internal approval system, found the G Group New Energy Project, and selected Suspend in the status bar. In the reason field, he typed a single line, "The authorization chain contains risks of forgery. The core project contact is suspected of major dishonest conduct. Verified." The system popped up a red alert. The project entered mandatory review. During the review period, all funds were frozen, and no one could unfreeze them. At 10:03, the G Group's official website quietly changed the introduction for the new energy project lead. The original strategic advisor, Shen Yanqing, was deleted and replaced with special assistant to the president, Cheng Yihan. They were still desperately trying to hold up the facade. Shen Yanqing stared at that line of text and sent a message to his legal director, Zhou Yu.
Is the lawyer's letter ready?
Zhou Yu replied instantly. Suing the G Group or suing Cheng Yihan? Shen Yanqing typed 2 words. Both. At 10:20, Ji Yunshu finally arrived downstairs at the Chenyu Capital building. The front desk called his internal line. President Shen, Miss Ji of the G Group is here to see you. She has also brought Mr. Cheng with her. Shen Yanqing walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked down. That familiar black Bentley was parked below. Ji Yunshu stepped out of the car, with Cheng Yihan trailing behind her. Today, Cheng Yihan wasn't wearing that sharp, tailored suit. His tie was crooked, his hair unkempt. He looked like a man whose spine had been pulled right out of him by last night's phone call. Shen Yanqing said to the front desk, "Let them come up, take them to the small conference room."
Not the VIP lounge.
He hung up, turned his head, and looked at Jiang Qiming and Zhou Yu.
Ready?
Jiang Qiming picked up the recording equipment and the project files. Zhou Yu adjusted his glasses and tucked the lawyer's letter into his folder.
Let's go.
Shen Yanqing said. When Ji Yunshu walked into the small conference room, her face was even darker than it had been the night before. She saw Shen Yanqing sitting at the opposite end of the table in a single glance, and she also saw the 2 men flanking him. Jiang Qiming had a recording device and project files laid out in front of him. Zhou Yu was sharply dressed in his suit, holding that lawyer's letter in his hand. Seeing this setup, Ji Yunshu's steps faltered noticeably. Shen Yanqing. She kept her voice low. "I came here today to solve a problem, not to start a lawsuit."
Shen Yanqing gestured toward the chair opposite him.
"If you want to solve a problem, sit down first." Ji Yunshu didn't move. Shen Yanqing didn't rush her. A few seconds later, she finally pulled out the chair. Cheng Yihan followed behind her and reached for the chair next to hers. Shen Yanqing spoke. "Mr. Cheng, you sit on the opposite side." Cheng Yihan's hand stopped midair, his expression like a man who had just been slapped. Ji Yunshu frowned. "Hez my assistant. He is also the subject of this risk review."
Jiang Qiming picked up the thread in a purely business-like tone.
Per Chenyu Capital's procedures, the review subject cannot sit on the same side as the project lead. Ji Yunshu's face darkened. Cheng Yihan forced out a smile. "No problem. I'll sit on the other side." As he sat down, he deliberately threw a glance toward Ji Yunshu, his eyes carrying a look of wounded grievance. In the past, this expression had worked on Ji Yunshu every single time. She would have immediately stepped in to shield him, but not today, because today, she no longer had any room left to shield him. Shen Yanqing slid the first document across the table. It glided over the smooth surface and stopped right in front of Ji Yunshu. Chenyu Capital's formal notice of suspension of fund disbursement for the G Group New Energy Project.
Ji Yunshu opened the document.
She read only 2 lines before her expression shifted. The authorization chain contains risks of forgery. The core contact is suspected of major dishonest conduct. Shen Yanqing, do you have to use such harsh wording? Her voice was stretched extremely tight. Shen Yanqing leaned back in his chair. It's not the wording that's harsh.
It's the facts.
Cheng Yihan immediately jumped in, his voice carrying that note of wounded reasonableness. Brother Shen, I admit the authorization application wasn't handled with perfect care, but I had no ill intentions. The project was moving too fast. I just wanted to share some of the burden for Miss Ji. Zhou Yu pushed up his glasses. His voice was not loud, but every word landed with the precision of a scalpel.
Mr.
Cheng, using another person's electronic signature in an official business document without authorization is not called a lack of care. It's called forgery. All the color drained from Cheng Yihan's face. I didn't forge anything. I just used the signature from a previous document. Using someone's signature in a new document without their authorization is, in essence, forgery. When you sent that email, you explicitly wrote, Miss Ji has given verbal confirmation. Had she actually confirmed it? Everyone's eyes turned to Ji Yunshu. Ji Yunshu said nothing. Cheng Yihan grew frantic. Even though Miss Ji didn't explicitly say it, she told me at the time to push forward with the coordination, so I just assumed.
Assumed.
Again, Shen Yanqing cut him off. Cheng Yihan's eyes reddened, and a tearful, wronged tone crept into his voice. Brother Shen, you don't have to keep targeting me. I know you're upset about your relationship with Miss Ji falling apart, but I'm just doing my job.
Shen Yanqing let out a laugh.
He pressed the switch on the projector. The first image appeared on the screen. The bill for the executive suite at the Yunlan Hotel in Jiangqing. The nightly rate was 38,000 yuan. Guests, Ji Yunshu, Cheng Yihan.
The second image.
A surveillance screenshot from the hotel's underground parking lot, timestamped 11:47 at night. Cheng Yihan was helping Ji Yunshu upstairs, her body leaning against his shoulder. The third image, 7:32 the next morning, the two of them came downstairs together. Cheng Yihan was holding Ji Yunshu's coat and her bag in his hands. The conference room fell so silent you could hear the hum of the air conditioning vent. Ji Yunshu whipped her head toward Shen Yanqing, her voice sharp as shattered glass.
You investigated me?
Shen Yanqing met her gaze. Cheng Yu Capital performs risk due diligence on every project. The core project lead sharing a room with a member of the counterparty's team is, in itself, a related party transaction risk. Ji Yunshu's face turned green.
I was drunk that night.
Yihan was just taking care of me. Cheng Yihan nodded frantically. Yes, I never touched Miss Ji. Shen Yanqing didn't argue. He pressed the next slide. When the fourth image popped up, the air in the entire conference room seemed to solidify. It was a chat log Cheng Yihan had sent to a friend. The screenshot was crystal clear.
Ji Yunshu got wasted tonight and finally let me into her room.
That useless husband of hers is nothing. Once the 9 billion project lands, he'll be the hero of the Ji family. By then, whether she divorces him or not, won't even be up to her anymore. The color vanished from Cheng Yihan's face so fast it was as if someone had pulled a plug. His face went bone white. Ji Yunshu stared at the screen, her pupils dilated, her lips slightly parted. She looked like a person who had just been slapped across the face in public. Shen Yanqing did not stop. The fifth image. A chat log between Cheng Yihan and a headhunter. The headhunter asked if Miss Ji would really hand the new energy project over to him.
Cheng Yihan replied, relax.
She trusts me now, not her husband.
The sixth image.
Cheng Yihan's revision notes on the bonus proposal sent to the finance department. The original text read, "The bonus amount must not be less than 30 million. Otherwise it won't reflect my contribution to this project." Ji Yunshu's fingers began to tremble. She slowly turned her head and looked at Cheng Yihan, every single word squeezed out from between her teeth. Are these real? Cheng Yihan opened his mouth.
Miss Ji, I
asked you if they're real. Ji Yunshu's voice suddenly spiked 8 octaves, shaking the entire conference room. Cheng Yihan was stunned. He stammered out an explanation. The chat logs could be taken out of context. I was just drunk and bragging to a friend. You know how I feel about you. I've always respected you.
Shen Yanqing looked at him.
You respect her enough to call me a worthless piece of trash in front of your friends? Cheng Yihan gritted his teeth and said, Aren't you just living off the Ji family? You've been a consultant at the Ji group for 3 years and you don't have a single public achievement to your name.
People say that for a reason.
The moment these words left his mouth, Ji Yunshu's expression turned even more hideous.
Because she knew better than anyone.
It wasn't that Shen Yanqing had no achievements. It was that every single one of his achievements had been hidden behind the scenes by her. 3 years ago, when Shen Yanqing first helped the Ji group secure its first supply chain, Ji Yunshu had said, Yanqing, I just took over the Ji group. The board members are all watching me. Don't step into the spotlight yet, or they'll say I'm leaning on my husband. Shen Yanqing agreed. Later she said, You don't care about titles anyway. It's more convenient to put the projects under my name. Shen Yanqing agreed again. Still later, when Cheng Yihan presented Shen Yanqing's proposal as his own work, Ji Yunshu said, Let him take the credit for now. Don't make a fuss. Shen Yanqing still agreed. All of his concessions, all of his willingness to step back, had become ammunition for others to humiliate him in Cheng Yihan's mouth. Zhou Yu slid a legal notice across the table. It stopped directly in front of Cheng Yihan.
Mr.
Cheng, regarding your unauthorized use of President Shen's electronic signature, the forgery of authorization applications, the malicious misappropriation of project results, and the damage to Cheng Yu Capital's commercial reputation, we will formally initiate legal proceedings. Cheng Yihan shot up from his seat.
Miss Ji.
He looked at Ji Yunshu, his eyes filled with desperate pleas for rescue. Ji Yunshu sat motionless in her chair. She rarely felt the sting of humiliation. She wanted to protect him,
but she couldn't.
The evidence was far too clear. Shen Yanqing looked at her.
Miss Ji, do you still think has more suited to be the project lead than I am?
Ji Yunshu lifted her head. Her voice was much lower than before. Yanqing, I admit I misjudged him. But you didn't have to take it this far. I will deal with Cheng Yihan. The 9 billion project. We can renegotiate. Shen Yanqing smiled.
Renegotiate?
Yes.
Her tone grew urgent.
This project was built by you and me together.
You can't destroy it over a personal grudge. Shen Yanqing slowly straightened up in his chair and opened the last document. Ji Yunshu, you've gotten it wrong again? This project was not built by you and me together. From the feasibility report to the capital structure, to the risk model, to the core resource connections, the original author of every single document is me. What you provided was merely the G Group as the executing entity. He pushed the document over to her. Now, the qualifications of the executing entity are in doubt. Chenyu Capital will initiate the alternative execution plan. The G Group is no longer the sole option.
Ji Yunshu jerked her head up.
You're going to give the project to someone else?
Not to someone else.
Shen Yanqing looked at her.
In taking back what's mine.
Suddenly, Cheng Yihan lunged from his seat and grabbed for the documents on the table. Zhou Yu seized his wrist in a single, crisp motion. Jiang Qiming pressed the call button on the table. 2 security guards pushed the door open. Cheng Yihan struggled, his arms pinned, and shouted over his shoulder at Ji Yunshu.
Miss Ji, I did everything for you.
He just wants to destroy the G Group.
He never loved you.
Ji Yunshu closed her eyes. Shen Yanqing stood up. As he reached the door, he paused for one step. Loving you. 3 years ago, that was real. Now it's expired. The door to the small conference room closed behind him. Cheng Yihan was escorted by security down the hallway, still shouting Ji Yunshu's name. But no one was listening anymore. At 2:30 in the afternoon, the G Group's official website quietly took down Cheng Yihan's introduction as project lead.
No public correction.
No apology. Nothing. They were still trying to cling to their last shreds of face. At 3 o'clock sharp, Chenyu Capital's project review meeting began on time. Jiang Qiming put the G Group's latest submitted materials up on the screen and shook his head. President Shen, they haven't submitted a self-inspection report. Shen Yanqing glanced at the screen.
Then stop waiting.
Contact the alternative executing parties. First contact on the list, Hengyuan Energy.
Send the invitation.
Less than 10 minutes after the invitation went out, Shen Yanqing's phone rang.
Ji Yunshu.
He didn't pick up. She sent a text message. Shen Yanqing, do you really have to push me to this point? Shen Yanqing replied, you're the one who pushed us to this point. The next morning, a piece of news exploded. The headline read, Phoenix Man, husband takes revenge through divorce and withdraws funding. The G Group's beautiful female CEO suffers marital retaliation. The gist of the article was that Shen Yanqing had climbed the social ladder by relying on the G family, hid his true identity during the marriage, used the G Group's platform to seize resources, and after the divorce was maliciously retaliating against the G Group by using capital to crush his ex-wife's company. The article even included a candid photo of Shen Yanqing, deliberately processed to make him look dark and sinister. Shen Yanqing knew at a glance this was Cheng Yihan's handiwork. After being suspended, there wasn't much he could still do, but buying a few self-media accounts to write smear pieces was still within his reach. Many of the details mentioned in the piece were things only someone inside the G Group would know. Jiang Qiming forwarded the article link with a message attached. President Shen, should we have it taken down? Shen Yanqing replied, no.
Let him post.
Then what do we do?
Hold a press conference. At 8:30 that morning, the Chenyu Capital press conference hall was packed to the brim with media.
People from the G Group were there too.
Ji Yunshu sat in the 3rd row, dark circles under her eyes so pronounced that even her foundation couldn't cover them. Ji Yunshu sat beside her, looking as if he had aged 10 years overnight. The front rows were filled with financial journalists and industry analysts, and 7 or 8 video cameras were set up on tripods, every lens aimed squarely at Shen Yanqing on the stage. At 9 o'clock sharp, Shen Yanqing walked onto the stage. Flashbulbs erupted in a blaze of white light, making the entire hall as bright as day. The first reporter stood up and extended a microphone. The question was sharp.
President Shen, there are rumors online that you maliciously withdrew the 9 billion yuan in cooperation funds because of a divorce dispute.
Are these rumors true?
Shen Yanqing looked into the camera and uttered 2 words.
Not true.
A second reporter immediately followed up.
Then what is the real reason Chen Yu suspended its cooperation with the Ji Group?
Shen Yanqing raised his hand. The large screen behind him lit up. The first document appeared on it. The framework cooperation agreement signed between Chen Yu and the Ji Group. The original text of Article 7 was highlighted with a red box. If the receiving party has misrepresented information, has anomalies in its authorization chain, or if the core responsible person poses an integrity risk, the funding party has the right to suspend or terminate disbursement. Chen Yu suspended the funding because signs of forgery appeared in the Ji Group project's authorization chain. The core contact is suspected of forging signatures, misappropriating project results, and misleading the funding party. Shen Yanqing's voice was not loud, but every word was unmistakably clear. A wave of murmurs rippled through the audience. A third reporter pressed, "The core contact you mentioned, is that the Ji Group's special assistant to the president? Cheng Yihan?" Yes, the screen switched. Cheng Yihan's forged authorization emails, the cropping and splicing marks on the electronic signature, the original author records of the project proposal, the draft of the 30 million yuan bonus plan. One after another, they flashed up. Key information had been redacted, but each document was more than enough to prove the facts. The sound of camera shutters hardly stopped. Ji Yunshu sat in the third row, the color draining from her face inch by inch.
Shen Yanqing continued.
At the same time, in the Ji Group's external fundraising materials, the 9 billion yuan, which had not yet been fully dispersed, was described as confirmed and available supporting funds. This description carries a risk of misleading creditors. Ji Zhengting's head snapped up, his face ashen. He understood the weight of that statement. It was tantamount to publicly questioning the truthfulness of the Ji Group's fundraising disclosures. A fourth reporter asked, "President Shen, did your marital relationship with Miss Ji influence this business judgment in any way?" Shen Yanqing looked at that reporter and answered very calmly.
No.
"Precisely because I was once her husband. I gave the Ji Group many chances over the past 3 years. I warned them about the authorization risks, the financial risks, the integrity risks of key personnel. But every single warning was ignored. So today Chen Yu can only follow procedure." The hall fell silent for a moment. Then someone asked the most pointed question. "Online, people are saying you lived off the Ji family for 3 years of marriage, and now you're suddenly revealing yourself as the president of Chen Yu.
Is there identity fraud involved in this?"
Shen Yanqing smiled. "That's a very good question." The screen shifted again, displaying a diagram of Chen Yu Capital's ownership structure, piercing through layers of holding companies. The ultimate beneficiary line read 2 words, Shen Yanqing. The date of the change 4 years ago, a full year before he married Ji Yunshu. The murmurs in the audience exploded like a pot boiling over.
Chen Yu is not an asset acquired after the marriage.
Nor is it a resource given by the Ji family. Shen Yanqing's voice was steady as a rock. On the contrary, over the past 3 years, it was not Chen Yu relying on the Ji family. It was the Ji family repeatedly relying on internal funds from the Chen Yu system to survive. 3 bridge loan records appeared on the screen. The first, 50 million. The second, 120 million. The third, 200 million. Every single one clearly showed the date, the purpose, and the repayment status. Ji Yunshu closed her eyes down in the audience. Those crises she had once glossed over, those times she had taken for granted as a husband helping out, were now displayed on a giant screen for everyone to see. She finally realized Shen Yanqing had never been idle. He had simply never worn his contributions on his sleeve. Halfway through the press conference, someone suddenly stood up in the audience.
Cheng Yihan.
He had snuck into the media section wearing a hat and a mask. Now discovered, 2 security guards were already rushing toward him, but he had already charged into the middle of the aisle and ripped off his mask. "Shen Yanqing, you're lying." His eyes were bloodshot, his voice hoarse as if he hadn't slept for days. "You're just taking revenge on Miss Ji."
You can't stand that she dumped you, so you want to destroy the Ji Group?
Every camera in the room swung toward him. The security guards moved to block him, but Shen Yanqing raised a hand.
The guard stopped.
Cheng Yihan, like a man clutching at his last straw, shouted at everyone, "I ran those projects.
I entertained those clients.
I did the drinking."
What right do you have to claim all the credit?
Shen Yanqing looked at him and asked, unhurriedly, "Which clients did you handle?" Cheng Yihan froze for a second. "A lot of them."
Give me specific names.
Don't change the subject.
Shen Yanqing picked up a document from the table. "The new energy project has 7 core resource partners. First, Hengyuan Energy. I negotiated that. Second, Donghua Materials. I negotiated that. Third, Wansing Electric Control. I negotiated that.
Fourth, Zhongsheng Logistics. I negotiated that. With every name he listed, a meeting record appeared on the screen. Shen Yanqing's name was on every single attendee list. The earliest one was dated more than 2 years ago. Back then, Cheng Yihan hadn't even set foot through the doors of the Ji Group.
Shen Yanqing fixed his eyes on him.
You've only been at the Ji Group for 11 months.
So tell me, how exactly did you handle meetings from 2 years ago?
Someone in the audience laughed.
Cheng Yihan's face flushed bright red.
He immediately switched tactics.
Then the follow-up maintenance. That was all me.
Follow-up maintenance?
Shen Yanqing nodded. Are you referring to drinking with Miss Ji? Or forging authorization changes? The hall erupted in an uproar. Cheng Yihan roared. You're slandering me. Shen Yanqing pressed a button on the remote.
A video played on the screen.
It was footage from an internal Ji Group meeting. Cheng Yihan was standing in front of the conference room giving a presentation, speaking with smooth confidence.
I've basically locked down Chenyu Capital.
They hold a very high opinion of my personal capabilities. Immediately after, the video cut to a phone call he made in the hallway after that meeting. The audio was crystal clear. That idiot Shen Yanqing still doesn't know his proposal has become mine. Miss Ji is sick of him now. He'll never recover. The entire hall exploded. Cheng Yihan stood frozen in the aisle, his mouth twitching, wanting to speak but unable to form a single word. He had no idea how this video had surfaced. It was simple. The surveillance cameras in the Ji Group's conference rooms were under the control of the administration department. The younger brother of the administration manager had once owed Shen Yanqing a very big favor in a supplier dispute. Ji Yunshu sat in the third row, tears streaming silently down her face. She heard it all. Everyone heard it. The man she had once trusted unconditionally was the same man who spoke about her husband this way behind his back. Zhou Yu stood up and addressed all the media.
Mr.
Cheng is suspected of commercial defamation, forgery of authorization, and infringement of trade secrets.
We have already filed a report with the public security authorities and submitted an application for evidence preservation to the court.
2 staff members took hold of Cheng Yihan. Panic took over his entire body. He went limp and twisted his head toward Ji Yunshu, shouting, Miss Ji, save me.
I did it all because I liked you.
Ji Yunshu did not move. Her tears were still falling, but her eyes were empty. A sensation known as belated clarity had finally shattered all her illusions. As Cheng Yihan was hauled out of the hall, his shouts dragged down the corridor, growing fainter and fainter, until they were cut off entirely by the thick doors. When the press conference ended, Ji Yunshu stopped Shen Yanqing in the hallway. Her voice was so hoarse it was barely recognizable. Yanqing, I will make a public apology. Shen Yanqing looked at her and waited a full 3 seconds before asking, is the apology for me, or for the Ji Group?
Both?
Then it's for the Ji Group. Shen Yanqing walked past her.
Ji Yunshu, stop chasing.
You can't catch up anymore.
3 days after the press conference, Ji Yunshu's public apology appeared simultaneously on the Ji Group's official website and her personal social media account. The statement was long, its wording carefully scrutinized by the legal team, but the core message came down to 3 points. First, the early-stage planning of the Ji Group's new energy project had been led by Shen Yanqing, and there had been management errors within the Ji Group regarding the attribution of project credit.
Second, Cheng Yihan was suspected of forging authorizations and misappropriating project results, had been stripped of all duties and handed over for investigation.
Third, she had personally mishandled matters during the marriage, causing harm to Shen Yanqing, and she offered a sincere apology. When the statement went out, Shen Yanqing was sitting in Chenyu Capital's conference room, reviewing a project proposal submitted by Hengyuan Energy.
Jiang Qiming passed his phone over the screen, displaying Ji Yunshu's apology.
The number of reactions was already past 100,000, and the comment section had turned into a war zone. Some were cursing Cheng Yihan as an ungrateful wretch. Some were cursing Ji Yunshu for being blind and foolish. Some said Shen Yanqing was too ruthless and heartless. Others said this was the most satisfying real-life revenge story they had ever read. Shen Yanqing swept his eyes over it, handed the phone back to Jiang Qiming, and lowered his head to continue reading the proposal. Jiang Qiming was a little surprised.
You're not going to read it?
Read what?
Shen Yanqing didn't even look up. Her apology is her choice. It has nothing to do with me.
Jiang Qiming said nothing more.
He had worked with Shen Yanqing for 5 years and knew this man's temperament well. Before he pushed things to an absolute end, he would have given countless chances. Once he started pushing to the absolute end, it meant it was truly over. That afternoon, Chenyu Capital officially released the second-round list of project contractors. Hengyuan Energy was selected.
Donghua Group was selected.
The G group was ranked at the very bottom, with a notation appended after its name, pending rectification and review. For the first time in the G group's history, it had gone from being the lead party to a backup candidate. The moment the news broke, the G group's stock price took another dive. Financial media used more direct wording this time. Cooperation on the G group's new energy project faces uncertainty. Core funding partner Chen Yu Capital initiates alternative plans.
The G Group's exclusive qualification has been revoked.
That evening Ji Yunshu called. This time, she wasn't hurried or frantic like before. Her voice was very calm as a cup of boiled water that had been left to go cold. Yanqing, does the G Group still have a chance? Shen Yanqing stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his office, watching the setting sun dye the skyline a wash of orange-red. He said, the G Group does. Ji Yunshu's breath caught. She understood exactly what those words meant. The company still had a chance.
She did nod.
I understand. Her voice was very soft, as if carried from a very great distance. I won't ask for your forgiveness anymore.
I just want to ask one thing.
Go ahead.
3 years ago, if I had listened when you told me about Chen Yu, what would we be like right now? Shen Yanqing was silent for a full 5 seconds. Outside the window, the sunset was fading at a visible speed. The orange-red at the horizon turned to a grayish purple, then sank beneath the city's skyline.
There is no if, he said.
You didn't listen.
Ji Yunshu let out a soft laugh on the other end. The laugh was dry and bitter, like fallen leaves crushed underfoot in autumn. Yeah, I didn't listen. After hanging up, Shen Yanqing stood at the window for a long time. His phone buzzed again. A message from Zhou Yu, Cheng Yihan's case has been transferred to the prosecutor's office. The evidence chain is complete. Conviction is expected. Zhao Lanzi, for her involvement in the forged signature scheme, has been sent abroad by Ji Zhengting to lay low. The second uncle, Ji Zhenghong, has been suspended by the board for misappropriating Donggang warehouse project funds, and recovery proceedings have been initiated. Shen Yanqing read it and replied with 2 words, noted. He did not ask how Ji Yunshu was doing. Those matters no longer had anything to do with him. A month later, the G Group's rectification hearing was held in the largest conference hall at Chen Yu Capital. This time, it wasn't just the G Group. Hengyuan Energy, Donghua Group, and 2 other candidate companies were all there. The 9-billion-yuan project had entered its final review phase, and each company had to present its own execution plan on stage.
Ji Yunshu came too.
She wore a dark navy suit, her hair neatly pinned up. She had lost a significant amount of weight, and the lines of her face were sharper and more defined than before. When she walked into the conference hall, many eyes fell on her. Those gazes held sympathy, schadenfreude, and the curiosity of spectators watching a drama unfold. She walked straight to the G Group's seat without looking left or right, and sat down with her back held very straight. Hengyuan Energy presented first, Donghua Group second. When it was the G Group's turn, Ji Yunshu stood up, took her documents, and walked onto the stage. She opened the first page, Self-Inspection Report. The second page, Financial Rectification Results. The third page, Management Accountability Roster. The fourth page, Project Restructuring Plan. On the line for the project lead, she had written Qi Huayan's name, not her own. She said the G Group's biggest problem before was bringing personal emotions into company decisions.
As president, I take full responsibility.
There was not a sound in the room. She continued, her tone steady. No sob stories, no mention of her marriage, not a single glance toward Shen Yanqing. She laid out the G Group's rectification measures point by point, including a willingness to accept stricter fund oversight from Chen Yu Capital, establish a joint project account, and cede a portion of management authority. Shen Yanqing sat on the review panel, listening very carefully. He noticed that in Ji Yunshu's report, the words President Shen or Yanqing did not appear a single time. All subjects were the G Group and Chen Yu Capital. She had finally learned to separate work from emotion. It was just a shame that by the time she learned it, everything was already over. After the hearing ended, people from the various companies filed out. Shen Yanqing finished organizing his documents and walked out of the conference hall. At the end of the corridor, he saw Ji Yunshu. She was standing there alone, holding a small velvet box about the size of her palm in her hand. Can we talk for a moment?
She asked.
Shen Yanqing glanced at his watch.
10 minutes.
Ji Yunshu gave a bitter smile that flickered and disappeared almost instantly.
Now I have to measure my time with you in minutes. Shen Yanqing didn't respond.
She opened the box.
Inside were a pair of wedding bands. The men's ring and the women's ring lay side by side in the black velvet grooves, glinting with tiny points of light under the overhead lamps. The men's ring was Shen Yanqing's.
He had taken it off that very night after signing the divorce agreement and left it on the Ji family's dining table. I kept it all this time.
Ji Yunshu held the box out.
Returning it to you. Shen Yanqing took the box but did not take out the ring. He looked down at it for 2 seconds, closed the box and put it into his suit pocket.
Thank you.
Ji Yunshu's eyes reddened, but she didn't cry. She drew a deep breath, pushed back the emotions surging upward, and said in a tone Shen Yanqing had never heard from her before, Yanqing, I didn't come here today to beg you to reconcile. The Ji group will accept the review results. If Chen Yu doesn't choose us in the end, he'll accept it. Shen Yanqing nodded. That's what you should do. And one more thing. She paused. I'm sorry. This time, no excuses. No, I was deceived. No, I was under too much pressure.
No, Cheng Yihan misled me.
Just, I'm sorry. Shen Yanqing looked at her. The woman standing in front of him, compared to the high-spirited, overbearing Ji Group president of 3 years ago, seemed like a completely different person. Her gaze was no longer sharp. Her posture was no longer aggressive. She had finally learned how to say sorry. But what he said were 3 different words.
I accept.
A light flickered in Ji Yunshu's eyes. It was very brief, like the flare of a match being struck, extinguished before it could even catch.
But that doesn't mean I forgive you.
Shen Yanqing finished the sentence. The light went out. A very faint, resigned smile surfaced on Ji Yunshu's face.
I know.
Shen Yanqing turned and left. He was 5 steps away when Ji Yunshu suddenly called out, Shen Yanqing. He stopped but did not turn around.
Will you ever, once in a while, think of me?
Shen Yanqing was quiet for 2 seconds. The light in the corridor stretched his shadow very long, all the way to Ji Yunshu's feet.
I will,
he said. I'll think of how you taught me one thing.
What thing?
Never hand your bottom line over to anyone else.
Behind him came a sound, so soft it was hard to tell whether it was a sigh or a laugh.
Shen Yanqing started walking again.
The elevator doors opened in front of him. He stepped inside and pressed the button for the ground floor. The moment the elevator doors closed, through the narrowing gap, he saw Ji Yunshu standing in the corridor, her tears finally spilling over, but this time she did not chase after him. 3 days later, Cheng Yu Capital announced the final review results. The 9 billion yuan project would use a joint undertaking plan. Henyuan Energy would be responsible for the production base.
Donghua Group would handle the technology upgrades.
The Ji Group retained only the distribution channels and a portion of the operations. The project funds would be fully placed under the unified trusteeship of Cheng Yu Capital, and every single expenditure would have to pass 3 layers of review. The Ji Group had survived, but it was no longer the protagonist. Ji Yunshu did not protest. After the results were released, she sent Shen Yanqing a text message. Thank you for not completely destroying the Ji Group. Shen Yanqing looked at the message and sent one final reply. What I destroyed was never the company. It was just your illusions. After sending it, he added Ji Yunshu's number to his blocked list. Cheng Yihan's case went to trial 3 months later. The court did not hold a public hearing, but the gallery was packed. Shareholder representatives from the Ji Group, the legal team from Cheng Yu, a few reporters from financial media outlets, and Cheng Yihan's parents. The elderly couple had traveled from their hometown and sat in the very last row. Cheng Yihan's mother kept her face covered with her hands the entire time, her shoulders shaking. The evidence chain presented by the prosecution was complete. The forged electronic signatures, the unauthorized change requests, the misappropriated project results, the attempted extraction of the 30 million bonus. For every charge there were corresponding documents, emails, and chat logs to back it up. Zhou Yu appeared in court as Cheng Yu Capital's legal representative. From the witness stand, he laid out the entire sequence of the authorization forgery with perfect clarity, every single time node specified down to the minute. Cheng Yihan stood in the defendant's dock. His hair was shorn short, and he had lost a drastic amount of weight. The tailored suit was long gone, replaced by a standard detention center vest. He kept his head lowered the entire time. The only time he jerked his head up was when the prosecution mentioned the 30 million bonus plan. His lips moved, but the bailiff beside him pressed him back down. During his final statement, Cheng Yihan spoke for a very long time in a hoarse voice. He said that when he first joined the Ji Group, he had only wanted to work hard. He said Ji Yunshu had been far too good to him, so good that he started to believe he truly had a chance to replace Shen Yanqing. He said he hadn't planned to deceive anyone from the very beginning. He had just wanted too badly to succeed. The judge asked if he had anything to add. He was silent for a long time, then said one sentence. I shouldn't have posted that social media update. That social media update. Ji Yunshu, asleep in the back seat of the car, his jacket draped over her,
captioned "Even the strongest people need someone who truly understands them." Zhou Yu had submitted this post as one of the pieces of evidence to the court, because it directly demonstrated that Cheng Yihan subjectively harbored the intent to sabotage the marital relationship between Shen Yanqing and Ji Yunshu. In the end, Cheng Yihan was sentenced to prison for multiple charges, including forging authorization documents, infringing on trade secrets, and commercial defamation. The moment the sentence was pronounced, a muffled sob came from the back row of the gallery. It was his mother. As the bailiffs led Cheng Yihan away, he turned his head and swept his gaze across the gallery. He was looking for someone. Shen Yanqing knew exactly who he was looking for.
Ji Yunshu.
But Ji Yunshu was not there. From start to finish, she never once appeared in that courtroom. When Shen Yanqing walked out of the courthouse, the sunlight was fierce, making the white marble steps gleam with a blinding intensity. He squinted and saw a black business van parked below the steps. The window was rolled down halfway, revealing Ji Yunshu's face. The old man seemed to want to get out of the car, hesitated, and in the end just nodded at Shen Yanqing through the car window. Shen Yanqing nodded back, but did not walk over. Between the two men lay over 20 steps and 3 years of grievances. This one nod was enough. The internal collapse of the Ji family came even faster than Shen Yanqing had anticipated.
The day Cheng Yihan's sentence was announced, the Ji Group board convened an emergency meeting that very night.
Ji Zhonghong was formally stripped of his board seat, and recovery proceedings were initiated against him for the 37 million yuan he had embezzled from the Donggong warehouse project. Ji Zhonghong slammed the table on the spot, pointing at Ji Yunshu's nose and cursing him for burning the bridge, after crossing the river, for discarding the grindstone after the flour was milled. Ji Yunshu did not say a single word. He had security escort Ji Zhonghong out of the meeting room. Zhao Lanzi did not fare any better. Her involvement in the scheme to force the signing was brought up by Qi Huayan during an internal audit. Although it didn't escalate to the legal level, Ji Yunshu laid down a single sentence in front of the entire family. "You will no longer touch a single matter related to the Ji Group." Zhao Lanzi cried through the entire night. The next day, she packed her bags and moved to that old villa in the suburbs. From that point on, she never again appeared in public. Ji Yunshu held on to her position as president but lost absolute control. The board added a special clause during the restructuring. Every Ji Group decision exceeding 50 million yuan must pass through the review of an external risk control advisor. That external risk control advisor was a person appointed by Chenyu Capital. In other words, every single one of Ji Yunshu's major decisions would now require Shen Yanqing's tacit approval.
She did not object,
because she knew this was the only condition under which the Ji Group could continue to live. On Shen Yanqing's side, the restructuring of the 9 billion yuan new energy project advanced with remarkable smoothness. The chairman of Hengyuan Energy was a man named Lu, in his 50s, who had spent half his life in solid manufacturing. He was as steady and reliable as an old farmer. At the first project alignment meeting, old Lu shook Shen Yanqing's hand and said with a smile, "President Shen, I've read through this project plan of yours 3 times. To be honest, I've only met 3 or 4 people in this entire industry who can build a risk model to this level of precision." Shen Yanqing said, "Chairman Lu, you're too kind." Old Lu shook his head. "I'm not being kind. The Ji Group kept a man like you sitting idle for 3 years. They were blind." A ripple of suppressed laughter went around the conference room. Shen Yanqing did not laugh. He simply opened the proposal and began going through the terms, one by one. Donghua Group was in charge of the technology upgrades. The chief engineer they sent was a man named Qin, a middle-aged man with thick glasses who spoke in a slow and methodical manner, but whose technical plans were absolutely watertight. The first time he and Shen Yanqing sat down to align their plans, the two of them stayed in the conference room from 2 in the afternoon until 9 at night, pushing through the entire technical roadmap 3 times from start to finish. At the end, Engineer Qin pushed up his glasses and said something that Shen Yanqing would remember for a very long time. "President Shen, you are the first client I've ever met who has personally calculated all the data. Working with someone like you gives us, on the contractor side, real peace of mind." 3 months later, the first phase of the project officially launched. The production base drove the first foundation pile into the ground at the Coastal Industrial Park, and Donghua's technical team entered the site simultaneously to begin equipment commissioning. The weather on the day of the ribbon cutting was spectacular. The sea wind was strong, whipping the blue banners until they snapped loudly. Shen Yanqing stood in the front row and watched the pile driver slowly drop its first hammer. The dull, heavy sound of impact traveled through the sea wind, and the ground beneath his feet trembled faintly. At that moment, A very peculiar sense of groundedness rose up inside him. It was not the thrill of successful revenge. It was not the satisfaction of a great grudge finally settled. It was a very simple, very solid feeling. This thing from beginning to end, he had built it with his own two hands. No one had misappropriated it. No one had intercepted it. No one had taken it and claimed it as their own achievement. Jiang Qiming stood beside him and handed over a document. President Shen, the Ji Group's distribution channel plan has been sent over.
Ji Yunshu handled it.
It's far more standardized than before. Shen Yanqing flipped it open and glanced at it. Ji Yunshu had submitted every single funding request 3 days in advance, with detailed usage descriptions and approval procedures attached. Compared to how things used to be, it truly felt like a completely different company. Follow the standard process, Shen Yanqing said. Ji Yunshu has been keeping an extremely low profile lately. Jiang Qiming lowered his voice. According to Ji Yunshu, she spends over 12 hours a day at the company now, personally cleaning up every single piece of the mess Cheng Yihan left behind. Shez visited the suppliers multiple times in person, and all the payments Cheng Yihan had been holding up have been fully settled. Shen Yanqing closed the document, his tone very faint.
She should have done this a long time ago.
Jiang Qiming glanced at him and didn't say anything further. That night, Shen Yanqing returned home. He reached into his suit pocket and felt the velvet box. The pair of wedding bands lay quietly in the grooves of the black velvet, the light hitting them and flashing the same white as the sunlight outside the courthouse earlier that day. He opened his phone and sent Zhou Yu a message. Help me get rid of the rings. Zhou Yu replied, sell them or throw them away. Shen Yanqing thought for a moment and typed 2 words. Donate them. Zhou Yu asked again, donate them to where? Shen Yanqing thought about all the worthless quarrels, the cold silences, the being looked down upon, the being used, the being treated as a transparent man throughout those 3 years of marriage. Then he typed 8 words, legal aid fund, marriage and family direction. A moment later, Zhou Yu sent a link. It was the program description for a certain legal aid foundation.
Shen Yanqing tapped it open and looked at it.
This foundation specialized in providing free legal consultation and litigation support to the vulnerable party in marriage and property disputes. He stared at the screen for a very long time, then set his phone down on the coffee table, got up, and went to the kitchen to pour himself a glass of water. Halfway through drinking the water, he suddenly smiled. It wasn't a bitter smile, nor a self-deprecating one. It was a very calm, understanding smile, like the smile of someone who had finally solved a very difficult problem. That money,
that marriage,
those 3 years that had been wasted.
At the very least, in the end, they could still be put to some decent use. Half a year later, the first phase of the 9 billion yuan new energy project officially went into production. The commissioning ceremony was held in the new factory building at the Coastal Industrial Park. Under the enormous steel dome, production line after production line was in motion. Robotic arms precisely picked up parts, rotated and welded. The entire process flowed seamlessly, with almost no extraneous noise. Shen Yanqing stood on the observation platform on the 2nd floor of the factory, watching the production lines below through the glass. Old Lu stood beside him and pointed toward the central control room in the distance. This system took 2 full months to commission. Engineer Qin and his team pulled God knows how many all-nighters. Shen Yanqing nodded.
It was worth it.
Old Lu clapped him on the shoulder and walked off with a chuckle. Jiang Qiming came up from behind and handed him a progress report.
The distribution channel section that the Ji Group is responsible for has been fully delivered.
The acceptance pass rate is 100%. Ji Yunshu really is reliable when it comes to getting things done. Shen Yanqing flipped through the report. Every data point was up to standard, with not a single delay. He closed the report and said, settle the payment per the contract. Ji Yunshu is here today too. Jiang Qiming tipped his chin toward the other end of the factory floor. Shen Yanqing followed his gaze. Ji Yunshu stood among the Ji Group's team, wearing a gray suit. Her hair was cut short, and she looked even more capable and even quieter than she had half a year ago. She wasn't looking in Shen Yanqing's direction. She was speaking with Ji Yunshu, her head lowered, a document in her hand, nodding as she listened. Someone tried to wave her toward the front row, but she waved her hand and stayed where she was. That spot was on the fringe of the crowd, several rows away from the center. Shen Yanqing thought back to the old Ji Yunshu, who would never have stood on any fringe. Press conferences, celebration banquets, signing ceremonies, she was always in the center, always under the brightest lights. The woman she was now seemed to have finally learned that not every position could be seized through sheer force. After the commissioning ceremony, the organizers arranged a brief networking reception, Shen Yanqing stood with a wine glass, discussing matters for the project's second phase with the heads of Heng Yuan and Donghua. Right as they got to a critical point, he suddenly sensed someone standing behind him. He turned around. Ji Yunshu stood there, a wine glass in her hand, maintaining a distance of about half a meter.
President Shen.
She called him President Shen.
Miss Ji.
He nodded. The distribution channel section has completely passed acceptance.
Ji Yuan has already sent the follow-up maintenance plan to Vice President Ji Young.
Her pace was neither rushed nor slow, as if she were delivering a standard work report. The supplier data gaps that Cheng Yihan left behind have all been filled. The new channel team will not have similar problems again.
Good.
There are also a few remaining accounts that need to be reconciled. The finance department is working on them now. You'll receive the final confirmation letter within 3 days. She paused, then said in a very light tone, "You really won't say a single extra word to me now?"
Shen Yanqing looked at her.
When it comes to work, saying what's necessary is enough.
She nodded and did not argue.
The sea wind blew in through the factory's main entrance and ruffled the hair on her forehead. She reached up and pressed it down, the gesture carrying a kind of ease that Shen Yanqing had never seen in her before.
I used to think you were too dull.
Not interesting enough.
She suddenly spoke, her voice very soft as if she were talking to herself. Later I finally understood. The people willing to tell me the truth were the ones who were truly on my side. Shen Yanqing did not respond. She lifted her head and looked at him. Her eyes were clear, without pleading, without resentment, only a belated understanding. I'm not here to beg for your forgiveness now. It's just sometimes I wonder, if before that family banquet I had just asked you properly, would everything have been different? Shen Yanqing was silent for 2 seconds, then said yes. Her eyes reddened faintly, but she did not cry. She smiled. A very shallow, very light smile, like a thin layer of light ruffled by the wind on the surface of the sea. But you didn't ask me, Shen Yanqing finished the sentence. She lowered her head and nodded, as if confirming a fact she had known for a very long time.
Yeah, I didn't ask.
Someone called out from the distance for Shen Yanqing to join the group photo. He nodded at Ji Yunshu and turned to walk toward the crowd. Halfway there, he paused for a moment without turning his head, and simply said, "Miss Ji, good luck with the second phase of the project." Behind him was 2 seconds of silence. Then Ji Yunshu's voice came through, trembling slightly, but each word enunciated very clearly.
Thank you, President Shen.
Shen Yanqing kept walking, holding a glass of half-finished champagne. The wine was no longer cold. The condensation on the glass slid downward along its surface. He walked to the photo backdrop, and old Lu pulled him to stand right in the center. Engineer Chin stood to his left, and the representatives of the various partner companies lined up in order. The flash went off a few times, making everyone's faces very bright. The moment the lens captured, Shen Yanqing's expression was calm, at ease, completely relaxed. He stood steadily in the middle of the crowd, no longer a shadow hidden behind someone else. As the reception was ending, he was walking out when he saw Ji Yunshu again at the entrance to the parking lot. She was waiting for her car, Ji Huayan standing beside her, and discussing something. A black business van pulled up. Before she pulled the door open, she looked up and her eyes met Shen Yanqing's gaze across the dozen or so meters of the parking lot. She raised the document folder in her hand slightly, a gesture of farewell. Shen Yanqing nodded. She got into the car.
The door closed.
The black business van glided out of the parking lot and merged into the traffic on the coastal road.
Shen Yanqing got into his own car.
His driver asked, "President Shen, back to the office?"
Back to the office.
There's still a project review meeting this afternoon.
The car pulled out of the industrial park. The coastal road was straight and wide, the sunlight spreading across the asphalt in a sheet of gold. Shen Yanqing leaned back in his seat and watched the coastline recede rapidly outside the window. His heart was very calm. Not the kind of calm that came from forcibly suppressing his emotions, but a real calm, a calm that seeped out from his very bones. He could finally stand in the same venue with her, speak, nod, pass each other by, and feel neither hatred nor love in his heart anymore. Just two ordinary business partners, all of the past compressed into the terms on a contract, and the numbers on a report. His phone buzzed. Jiang Qiming had sent the launch plan for the second phase of the project. Ji Huayan had also sent the Ji Group's distribution channel settlement confirmation letter. Zhou Yu had sent the donation receipt for the wedding rings. The last line of the receipt read, "The funds have been fully allocated to the Marriage and Family Legal Aid Program to assist the vulnerable party in marriage and property disputes." Shen Yanqing looked at that line of text, and the corner of his mouth curved up faintly.
This money had walked out of a mistaken marriage and in the end found its way to a correct use. He saved the receipt to the encrypted photo album on his phone and locked the screen. In the rearview mirror, the outline of the coastal industrial park grew smaller and smaller until it finally dissolved into the line where the sea met the sky. He did not look back. Another spring arrived. Chengyu Capital's new headquarters had moved into the tallest skyscraper in the CBD. Floors 52 through 55 were completely opened up and connected, and an entire wall of floor-to-ceiling windows faced directly toward the bay. On clear days you could see the freighters plying the sea, slowly pulling white wakes behind them as they sailed out of the harbor.
Shen Yanqing's office was on the 55th floor.
3 monitors sat perpetually on his desk, connected respectively to the project management system, the real-time risk control platform, and the global market data terminal.
A potted pothos plant sat on the windowsill, a standard issue from the administration department.
When he first arrived, it had only 3 or 4 leaves.
Now the vines hung all the way down to the floor.
The day the second phase of the 9-billion-yuan new energy project officially launched, Shen Yanqing held a brief press conference in the top-floor meeting room. The number of media that came was much smaller than the last time, not because there was less attention, but because the project had already entered a stable operational phase, and there were no longer any major newsworthy events breaking that required large-scale coverage. For financial media, stability meant boredom. But for Shen Yanqing, stability meant everything. During the press conference, a reporter asked a question. President Shen, you've been through a massive storm of both marriage and business over the past year. Looking back now, what is your deepest feeling? Shen Yanqing thought for a moment and said 2 words. Boundaries. The reporter was taken aback and pressed further.
Could you elaborate on that?
Shen Yanqing set down his pen, his tone very calm. There need to be boundaries in relationships. There need to be boundaries in cooperation. And there need to be boundaries in trust. Giving without boundaries will never earn you appreciation. It will only earn you a sense of entitlement. The reporter then asked, so, do you still believe in love? Shen Yanqing looked out the window. On the surface of the sea, a container ship was slowly entering the harbor, the sunlight reflecting off its hull in a bright expanse of white light.
I do, he said.
But I will no longer sacrifice myself to prove that love exists. After the press conference ended, this interview segment was edited into a short video that circulated in the financial world for several days. Some people brought up Ji Yunshu in the comments, saying she had never again spoken publicly about relationships after that. Others said they had seen her at an industry forum, that she had changed a great deal, that she was more steady in her work now, but also much more silent. A supplier who had worked with the G Group left a comment, saying that at a dinner once, someone asked her what her biggest regret was. She answered only one sentence: I pushed the person who was truly on my side to the opposite side. Shen Yanqing saw that comment. He swiped his screen and closed the page. Her regrets were her own. Her changes were her own. His life should no longer revolve around her. That summer, Chengyu Capital invested in a new technology project, focusing on the research and development of core components for industrial robots. The scale was not large, the initial investment only 200 million, but the technological barriers were high. Shen Yanqing personally led the team on a factory visit, and spent 3 full days in the Suzhou Industrial Park. Every day he wore an anti-static cleanroom suit, and walked through the dust-free workshops, eating boxed lunches with the engineers, looking at blueprints, discussing parameters. The founder of that startup was a man surnamed Lin, just over 30, with half his hair already white. He talked with his hands and his eyes lit up when discussing technical details. During the project presentation, founder Lin was so nervous, his palms were drenched in sweat. He stumbled more than a few times before he was even halfway through his PowerPoint.
Someone nearby quietly frowned.
Shen Yanqing did not interrupt him. He sat quietly and listened to him stammer through the entire presentation. After he finished, Shen Yanqing asked 3 questions.
About the ceiling on the yield rate.
About the path to domestic substitution for the core components. About the technology iteration direction over the next 3 years. Founder Lin answered very honestly.
Where he didn't know, he said he didn't know.
Where he wasn't sure, he said it needed further verification. Not a single pat answer. Shen Yanqing wrote 2 words on the evaluation form, approved. After the meeting, Jiang Qiming asked him, that team seems a bit green.
What do you see in them?
They know where their weaknesses are. Shen Yanqing handed the evaluation form to Jiang Qiming. What a person fears most isn't being weak. It's being weak and still thinking they're invincible. Jiang Qiming took the form and laughed. That doesn't sound like a business judgment. It sounds like life experience. Shen Yanqing laughed too.
It's the same thing.
Autumn arrived. The ginkgo trees planted along the greenbelt began to shed their leaves, the golden-yellow blades blanketing the sidewalks. One weekend evening, on his way home, Shen Yanqing received a call from an unfamiliar number. He answered. The other party did not speak. There was only the very faint sound of breathing. After a few seconds, the other party hung up. Shen Yanqing knew who it was. He had blocked the number, but he still recognized it. He deleted the call log, put his phone back in his pocket, and kept walking. There was a flower shop by the roadside that was just closing up. The shop owner was hauling the water buckets from the doorway inside one by one. Seeing Shen Yanqing pass by, she casually asked, "Sir, would you like to buy some flowers?" "It's the last bouquet."
"I'll sell it cheap." Shen Yanqing glanced over.
It was a bouquet of chamomile, the tiny white blossoms crowding together, swaying gently in the evening breeze. He bought the bouquet. When he got home, he put the flowers in a glass vase and set it on the dining table. A faint scent of greenery filled the room, completely different from the heavy-scented diffuser they had used in that marital home. That diffuser had been chosen by Ji Yunshu. The fragrance was very strong. Every time Shen Yanqing came back from a business trip and pushed the door open, he would smell it immediately. Back then, he thought that was the smell of home. Later he realized it was the smell of the Ji family's home. The place he lived now was not large. 120 square meters, 3 bedrooms and a living room. One room was the master bedroom, one was a study, and the third was still empty. He hadn't yet decided what to do with it. He had chosen the decor himself. Light gray walls, natural wood furniture. There was no television in the living room. In its place was an entire wall of bookshelves. The books on them were a mixed assortment. Professional literature on financial risk control. Technical white papers on new energy. A few history books whose edges were worn soft from being read.
And a cookbook.
He had been learning to cook lately. He had already mastered scrambled eggs with tomatoes and braised spare ribs. The presentation was mediocre, but it tasted pretty good to him. At the end of December, Chengyu Capital's annual gala was held in the banquet hall of the new headquarters. All the partners came. Old Lu from Hengyuan, engineer Qin from Donghua,
that founder Lin from Suzhou,
and the heads of a dozen or so new projects. The banquet hall was filled with clinking glasses and laughter. After a few drinks, Old Lu grabbed Shen Yanqing's arm and said, "President Shen, on the surface you seem so gentle, but when it counts, you're tough as nails." Shen Yanqing smiled, holding his wine glass.
In project management, you can't afford to be soft even once.
Once you go soft, everyone ends up paying the price.
Ji Yunshu came over to offer a toast on behalf of the Ji Group. He was now the Ji Group's vice president. The two men clinked glasses, and Ji Yunshu said something that caught Shen Yanqing slightly off guard. "President Shen, Miss Ji asked me to tell you that she will personally oversee the plan for the Ji Group's second phase distribution channel operations. She will not entrust it to anyone else again." Shen Yanqing nodded. "Tell her she can rest assured." Ji Yunshu hesitated, then added in a low voice, "Miss Ji hasn't been in the best health lately. She's lost a lot of weight."
She told me not to tell you, but I think you should know.
Shen Yanqing took a sip of his wine, his expression unchanged. "Director Qi, she is your boss. Do your best to help her." Ji Yunshu understood his meaning and did not bring up Ji Yunshu again. The gala was nearing its end when Shen Yanqing stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows to take a phone call. It was Jiang Qiming, saying the financing plan for the third phase of the project had been preliminarily put together and would be sent to him first thing the next morning. He hung up the phone and noticed that it had started to snow outside. Fine, dense snowflakes drifted down from the gray dome of the sky, landing on the glass and melting into tiny beads of water. Someone knocked on the door. A server walked in and handed him an envelope, saying a lady had asked him to pass it along. Shen Yanqing opened the envelope. Inside was no letter, just a single photograph. The photo showed an old desk. On the surface of the desk was a document spread open, and the title of the document faintly bore the word Chengyu. On the back of the photo were a few words written in a graceful, delicate script. It was Ji Yunshu's handwriting. "I found this when I was cleaning out the study after you moved out. This was the document you gave me back then, wasn't it? I never even flipped through it."
"I'm sorry."
Shen Yanqing turned the photo over and looked at it for a very long time. The document in the photo, its cover already slightly yellowed, its edges curling up. It was the Chengyu Capital Strategic Cooperation Framework he had placed on Ji Yunshu's desk 3 years ago. It had been filed away, untouched, by the administration department, pressed into the very bottom of a filing cabinet. 3 years later, she had finally found it. He put the photograph into the inner pocket of his suit jacket, raised the wine glass on the table, and drank it all in one go. Outside the window, The heavy snow was falling harder, blanketing the entire city in a thin layer of white. The harbor in the distance was brilliantly lit, container ships moving slowly through the night, trailing long, thin ribbons of light behind them. The sounds of laughter and clinking glasses from the banquet hall leaked through the crack in the door. Warm and indistinct, Shen Yanqing stood by the window, looking out at the city covered in white snow, and what rose up in his heart was not nostalgia, not melancholy, but a sense of wholeness he had never felt before.
Not someone's husband.
Not the son-in-law of the Ji family.
Not a shadow hidden behind the scenes.
Shen Yanqing.
As the New Year's bell tolled in the distance, he picked up his phone and sent Jiang Qiming a message. Happy New Year. There's still a lot to be done next year. Jiang Qiming replied instantly. Same to you. Happy New Year, President Shen. Shen Yanqing put his phone back in his pocket, took one last look at the snowy night outside the window, then turned and walked out of the room. The corridor was brightly lit. The gala was still going strong, the sounds of laughter and music interwoven. He pushed open the doors of the banquet hall and merged into that vibrant sea of light. 3 months later, the third phase of Chenyu Capital's new energy project was officially established. Shen Yanqing personally led a team to Europe to inspect technology partners and spent 2 full weeks in Zurich. The day he flew back, as soon as he landed, his phone pushed out a notification. The Ji Group had issued an announcement. Ji Yunshu had resigned from the position of president due to health reasons.
Ji Yuan would succeed her.
She retained her seat on the board of directors but would no longer participate in day-to-day operations. Shen Yanqing read the notification, locked his phone screen, and pulled his suitcase toward the parking lot. The March wind was still biting cold, carrying a dry chill against his face. He got into his car, started the engine, and turned the heat up to maximum. The car stereo automatically resumed the song that had been playing when he last turned it off. It was a very old love song. The lyrics sang, "I once gave you the best years of my life. Now I must take them back." Shen Yanqing skipped the song. He pulled the car out of the airport parking lot and merged onto the airport expressway, pressing the accelerator to the speed limit. The city outside his window unfolded under the afternoon sun. On the green belts lining both sides of the highway, the winter jasmine had already bloomed. Clusters of golden yellow flowers crowded together on gray-green branches, looking especially vivid in this city's early spring. His phone buzzed again. It was the schedule Jiang Qiming had sent. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, third phase project launch meeting. Conference room already booked. Shen Yanqing typed 2 words. On time. He set his phone on the passenger seat and lifted his head to look ahead. The highway stretched straight toward the horizon. The sunlight poured through the windshield and fell warmly on his face. In the rearview mirror, the airport terminal grew smaller and more distant, eventually dissolving into the city skyline. He did not look back. Ahead of him lay the rest of his life.